Hey, what's up? Look at me up on the big screen. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another BRAP. I may have to adjust my... Hold on here. There we go. I think we're good. What's going on, everyone? Happy Friday. It's great to be back. 3-day weekend for me here. 3-day weekend. So, gonna enjoy it. Hopefully get some gaming in. Got a lot to talk about. Tonight. Jaffy wants on. How do you know Jaffy wants on? Does Jaffy want on? Let's see here. Jaffy, Jaffy wants on. I'm more than happy to have Jaffy on if Jaffy wants to join us. Jaffy, check your XDM. All right, let me see if I get Jaffy in here. Get David Jaffy here. We haven't had Jaffy on a long time. David Jaffy. Where's Jaffy? Where is Jaffy? There we go. I just said Jaffy. We'll see if Jaffy joins us here. We'll see if Jaffy joins us. It'd be great if Jaffy joins. We had David Jaffy on. He was like one of our first. I think he might be one of the first like game developers that we had on the show back in 2015. I think it was 2015, and he was working on Drawn to Death at the time, and we had him on. And no, it was 2016. If I was it, I can't remember. I think it was 2016. All right, what's going on? Donnell Brown with the super chat says, I speak for everyone when we say we want Logic to host the show, not you, sir. We, your fans, don't want a Cowboy fan hosting the show. I first of all, look, Logic can host a show anytime he wants. He's a great host. I might be slightly better though. And sir, I am not a Cowboys fan. I'm not a Cowboy. I'm a Commanders fan. You know this. You know this. Yeah, I did. Wayne B, I did check his Discord, and I told him. Let's see. Let me message Jaffy again. I might have to let me see. Hold on a sec here. Let's see. Jaffy. All right. Let's see here. All right. Yeah, I just messaged him, Wayne. So we'll see if he joins. If he joins, great. Sorry, I was watching a video on how to tow with an SUV. Think if you guys listen to the show. Oh, by the way, completely forgot. Do me a favor. Smash that like button if you haven't done so already. I'm gonna drop a link here in the live chat. You can let everyone know that we're live. Let me fix my head here. There you go. Drop. There's the link in the live chat. All right. David Jaffy is going to join us. All right. Let's see here. Jaffy's going to join us. Oh man, this is gonna be fun. It's always all right. Sorry about that. Just bring all the J man. All right. So thank you for that super chat, Donnell Brown. I appreciate it, even though I don't really care for the Raiders or Raider Nation. All right. So you know what? So I was gonna ask everyone. So I'm just curious, what is everyone playing right now? Excuse me. What video game or video games, I should say, is everyone playing? I didn't get a lot of chance to. I've been busy. This past week's been really busy for me. Work's been busy. What's up, Anthony Dixon? This work has been very busy and just been busy with other stuff at home. And I actually didn't get a chance to game this week, unfortunately. Wanted to play some Metaphor Re Fantasio. Haven't done that. Great game. Still my game of the year, 2024. So to get a chance to do that. But Wukong finally got the physical. Okay, Wukong, good game. Azriel? Is this the Azriel from Twitter? The one that likes death metal, I think. Ooh, new season of Castlevania this weekend on Netflix, right, Chrono Rig? I haven't watched Castlevania in a while. Or at least it was the Castlevania. What was it? The anime series. Beyond Citadel, Dynasty Warriors, Origins, Marvel Rivals. How was Dynasty Warriors Origins? How's that? By the way, I think Hamp's going to be here shortly. Hamp's playing Black Ops 6. It's double XP weekend. Black Ops 6 right now. Only an hour in, but it's fun. Awesome. Well, that's what it's about. By the way, in the background, I have SmackDown on. Braun Strowman is out in the ring with LA Knight, also known as Eli Drake in TNA. So watching that right now in the background. Big professional wrestling fan I am. Got to see the debut of Penta, El Cero Miedo, on Raw this past Monday. That's they advertised him. Am I going to watch UFC 311 tomorrow? Probably not, because one, my Washington Commanders are playing Gimme Forte's Detroit Lions. It's an 8:00 game. Going over to a neighbor's house for a viewing party. Who's fighting Brian East? I haven't really caught up or kept up with UFC 311. Yeah, Wayne B. He jumped ship from AEW. His contract ran up. I think his brother Ray Phoenix is going to be joining him in WWE too. Ray Phoenix's contract is still He's still under contract, but he's not going to be, or not expected at least, to re-sign with AEW. So the Lucha Bros may be back together in WWE. But yeah, he jumped to Penta, El Cero. I can't even say. I should be able to say that. Fucking Latino. El Cero Miedo. Oh, Jesus. If Erica heard this, she'd probably be laughing at me right now. El Cero Miedo. He ended up joining. Great tag team. Yeah, they were great. Say they are great, I should say. Oh, okay. Highlights. Okay. Yeah, it's like I said, I really haven't kept up with UFC in quite some time. But I mean, WWE actually just they just actually struck a partnership deal with TNA. I don't know all the details. I just saw it pop up on my feed. But I will say this, it's as a wrestling fan, I mean, clearly WWE is the at least in my opinion, I think is probably the better product right now. Better stories for sure. Better storylines than AEW. AEW, there's some talent, obviously some talent there on the roster. I don't feel like they do a really good job at really telling good stories. I mean, don't get me wrong. The matches, they do put up some great matches in AEW. I just feel like the story component is just missing for me, at least. I mean, professional wrestling in part, it's about telling a story, right? Getting the viewer or the fan invested in that story, that storyline. And I just don't think AEW does as good a job at that as WWE, and kind of building up the story and the momentum to a match. I think AEW has gotten worse since hiring a lot of WWE guys. I think it's real. I think it's a story, the lack of storytelling. W's better in the ring too. I don't know about that. I mean, I know what you mean about the indie stuff, right? I get that perspective, but I think the ring work in AEW is pretty good. I mean, look at like Will Ospreay. I mean, right? I mean, Will Ospreay is just, I mean, he's super talented in the ring. Yeah, WWE in ring, some guys are better. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there's certainly guys in WWE that are pretty good in ring, better than others. Yeah, but AEW, I just feel like the stories aren't as compelling. I mean, it's definitely lost some of its early momentum. I mean, look, remember 2019 when AEW debuted? I mean, Vince McMahon was still behind WWE. WWE at that time, at least in my opinion, I didn't think was a really good product. The stories really weren't that good. And AEW was kind of the new startup, and it was exciting. There was some momentum behind it, and then they were able to pull off a coup of sorts and sign. Excuse me. They're able to sign CM Punk, which, I mean, you go back and you look at that CM Punk debut at the United Center in Chicago. I mean, that is literally probably the largest pop that I've ever heard at a wrestling show, like a live wrestling show. The place exploded. Like I mean, I still watch it and get chills. I mean, it was such a huge moment in professional wrestling, such a big pop. And then unfortunately things just didn't work out for CM Punk. I mean, the backstage altercations, fortunately, just didn't work out. But I think one of his complaints was that I don't think he felt like, at least at AEW, they were really trying to sell tickets. And I think when he says, my interpretation of that is the investment in story and product, things like that, to put butts in the seats, right? So, all right. Well, this isn't a wrestling show per se. All right. So Jaffy's going to be here shortly, about 10 minutes or so. There is something I wanted to talk about that I forgot about now. Yeah, that CM Punk AFI interest was awesome. All right, there was something I wanted to talk about. No, hold on a sec here. Let's see here. Got to go to GameIndustry.biz for this article here. I need to find the article first. Well, don't want to do that. All right, want to welcome Logic to the show. What's going on, Logic?
Nothing much, man. It's been a heck of a week.
Uh-oh, what's going on, man?
I mean, all good. Just super busy. Major milestone. So
Okay. Did you have to cancel any live service games? Oh, Logic, you are muted. I think you muted yourself.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
there you go.
I've still not shifted out of work mode. I say that because because in podcasting, I never use the software mute right in the app, but at work, when I'm on Teams, that's the only mute button that I work. So I haven't transitioned still. But yeah, no, I mean, very good chance that the project that demoed today would have gotten canceled had it not been a successful demo.
I mean, if it got canceled, does that mean that you're in trouble?
In this case, yes, because we're a small company, and so we're right much smaller capital base. When you're in a big company, no, that doesn't canceling a project doesn't mean that you're in trouble.
Yeah,
actually,
okay.
it's an example that you're showing prudent governance because and fiscal responsibility by no longer continue to bleed capital investment on something that you've become uncertain of the ROI. So
yeah, no, I hear you. I just and we're going to talk a little bit about cancellations in the industry, what that like I get it. I certainly understand from a fan perspective how, you might be disappointed that maybe a favorite studio of yours was working on a game. I get that perspective, but I do think there are some knee-jerk reactions, some things that people are, as you like to say, Logic, kind of hand-waving, right? They're doing the hand-wavy stuff again.
They're using hand-waving to explain the reason that they're running around. What they're actually doing, though, is running around waving their terrible towels. So let's just make sure we get the game logic cliches correct.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. They're waving the terrible towels. Okay. You know what? I should get a terrible towel every time we say it. Just start waving it on screen, right?
We should sell merch.
We should sell merch. We might get sued by the Pittsburgh Steelers, but yeah, you know what? Actually, that'd be a great way to promote the channel.
Well, yeah, you'd change it. You'd make them green towels, and you'd put Basement Radio Arcade Podcast on it.
Just BRAP. Just BRAP. That's too funny. Hey, did you get to play a little COD? I know you were gonna hop on COD. Oh, by the way, let me get Jaffy in here. We have David Jaffy with us. Jaffy. What is this ensemble you have on?
Ensemble. It's French. What is this? What am I wearing?
Yes.
Well, it's funny you should ask. I am wearing just so basically I did a stream this morning, and then I did a stream. We're going to be playing like a 4-month-long D&D campaign on the stream starting Sunday, and we rolled the character. Even though I'm not a wizard, this is all I had. I got to put together a ranger costume over the weekend. And then, and so I was about to go into my own stream because I've been streaming twice a day now, which I love doing. But I realized very quickly that when I stream more than twice a day, I'm fucked on the third one. So I saw you guys in my Discord going, hey, we're doing our stream. And I'm like, I'll piggyback for a few minutes on their stream. That way I can at least stream a little bit without feeling like I have to actually run the show. Because you guys know it's fun, but it's exhausting as shit.
Yeah, it's not easy.
No, it's fun. It's fun. Anyway, I'm going to tweet out that we're doing this just so people who watch my shit know.
Well, Jaffy, first of all, thanks for joining us, by the way. I was explaining to the audience, we had you on, I think the first time in 2016, maybe?
I don't know.
I know it was right before the election, the first election of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. But that's when we had you on. I remember I've been on the show before. Absolutely. Yeah. We've had you on a couple times since, but I don't know if you remember this, but I used to podcast like in a basement, and I was like in the dark, and you said that I looked like I was broadcasting from an ISIS cave, which I thought was pretty funny at the time. But
well, you're moving up in the world now. You look like you're broadcasting from like a normal place. Good for you.
Yeah, like a normal place, right?
You got out of the terrorist cult, and you pulled yourself up and got your life going. That's good.
I'm moving on up, Jaffy.
Thanks, Joe Biden. Anyway,
moving up. Yeah. By the way, you're so it's like a wizard outfit is what you're wearing for D&D. I was going to say it kind of reminds me of Eyes Wide Shut.
Fidelio.
Remember that Stanley Kubrick movie with
I just said Fidelio.
Oh, that's right. You did say it. Yeah.
That was the password. That was the password. And what's funny is if you listen to Gene Park ever talk, he's got all these stories of him going to these sex clubs and things and these parties. And he's so unassuming seeming that you're like, really? And he's like, no, man, people wear masks and everything. And they're fucking in all these rooms. And this one lady came up to me and she's like, I recognize your work. Would you mind, can we have sex when my husband watches? And I'm like, that really happened at this party? He's like, yeah. This motherfucker, is this a family podcast? I don't remember. I go on so many podcasts. I'm so grateful.
No, look, it's 9 o'clock. It's 9:30 here in the East Coast.
Yeah.
So we are past family hour.
Okay. Why doesn't Logic like me? He's not saying anything. Is he racist?
No. I'm just trying to give you. Hey, we haven't met before, so I definitely want to serve
We've
your,
met
your due
in my
your
dreams. Logic. In my dreams, we've met. It's Friday. I'm about to take a bunch of edibles, boys. It's going to be great.
Oh man.
It's going to be great.
We've had Gene Park on, and I need to get Gene back on because I want to discuss these experiences he's had, because he definitely did not share that with us when he was on the show last.
Well, you guys are probably trying to be professional, and you have to understand that, that went out the window for me a long time ago, as you can probably tell. I am not really all that interested in that. But no, Gene is phenomenal. He is excellent to talk to. He is very wise, great journalist. Man, I'm a big fan of that guy. He's a good dude.
Yeah. Jaffy, how much time do you have with us, by the way? I want to...
Probably till Taco Bell shows up and then the weed kicks in. Oh my God, you guys. Shh. Listen. Oh my God. Oh my God. Listen, I started playing this demo. Can I say just briefly about this demo I was playing before I jump on the show?
Yeah, go ahead.
It is called, and I'd seen the trailer and I was like, okay, whatever. It just looked generic, but my God, I don't know if it's on console yet, but it's the first Berserker Kazan, and it's kind of anime. I don't know if it's actually based on an anime or whatever, but it's kind of Souls, but not as open, a little bit more Bloodborne-y in terms of level structure. It's so good. It is so, at least so far. I'm only playing the demo right now, but it is controls like butter. It looks beautiful. The art is great, and the demo so far does a wonderful job of sort of onboarding you with the mechanics. I highly recommend it. Yeah, somebody in your chat, Brian E, says it's a Souls-like. It's very hardcore. Well, it may be very hardcore, but for me, because I don't consider myself at all a very good gamer. I play a lot, but I don't, I actually so far have been able to move through it relatively easily. Mario Heat says another Souls-like. Wow. Look, bitch, what I'm telling you, Mario, is that it is compelling. It's interesting. I understand your why you would be burnt on this genre. I'm with you. But what I'm saying to you is that this particular one, give it a look. Give it a look, my Sir Mario Heat.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Mario Heat. Is he a regular? I think he's a regular here in the chat. Logic. I don't remember. You have so many people come and go.
It's a
melting pot. It's a melting pot of all kinds of wonderful souls of gamers. What do you guys think of gamers? These developers saying, "Oh, I hate gamers." I don't hate gamers at all, and I don't think they hate gamers. I just think there's a lot of online assholes, and that's what they're talking about. But what do you guys think?
I think there are a lot of online assholes. Look, there used to be so going back to my early days of Twitter back in 2013, the developers used to interact with us. They used to talk to us. Hell, they used to come on our shows. I mean, I did a show with Mike Laidlaw, who used to be at BioWare. Yeah. And Mike was great.
Yeah.
Mike doesn't want to do I shouldn't speak for him, but I mean, like, those guys are like, yeah, we don't want to, we just don't want to interact with the community. The community just the
community has gotten really annoying. I mean, not the pure, not just gamers, but the people who tend to be online and talk gaming. It's very, and I get it. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made in anger and clickbait and rage bait. I totally get it. If you're out there hustling, trying to make that, it's hard to walk away from that. And we've done it on my show. I don't do it a lot, but every now and then, like, I just hired a new producer, a great guy, and he's like, sometimes like, hey, it's time to shake the drama tree, Jaffy. I'm like, okay, let's go piss off somebody, because it works. It brings in a bunch of subs, but you got to be careful. At least I do, because I don't want to be known for that, but every now and then. I'm talking a lot. I swear I'm not high yet. I haven't even taken the edible. I'm sorry. I'll shut up. What do you guys want to talk about tonight? I'm sorry. It's your show.
Well, that's right.
Hero Down Under. Hero Down Under says, but Jaffy, you do clickbait a lot. No, I don't. Clickbait is basically when you are lying and saying, if you click this, I'm going to tell you it's how to get the most beautiful woman in the world in bed with you. And it's basically how to whittle a little gnome with whatever, with a pocket knife. That's clickbait. You're just pissed that I market. I'm going to market. That's like saying, oh, hey, we have this new, hamburger McDonald's, and we're going to make it look like shit on the ad. It's like, no, you got to fucking market this shit. Anyway, sorry.
Go ahead. So Hero Down Under gets it. Before we move on for that topic, I mean, David, I think the nail you hit on the head was that the problem is that so many of those people who are having that conversation aren't actually gamers.
I'm hearing that a lot. I think you're right, but where do you talk about that, if you would explain where you're getting that data that they're not? Because I hear that a lot the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I will. So first of all, I will admit the ego in that statement. I mean, there's a little skosh of gatekeeping in that, right? In terms of, I have in my head the notion of a person who is a gamer, which isn't leaned in the direction that most gatekeepers have, right? In terms of like, the person has to play X, number of hours per week, and they have to play X certain types of games, and they must complete games. Like, I don't personally care about all that. It's a matter of whether or not you're actually invested intellectually in participating and observing the creative process. And first of all, if you're shouting and screaming at someone in anger because you differ with their notion of how they're approaching their creative process, what it is that they're building, you're outside the box, in my opinion. First of all, we as consumers get to indicate what we like and what we don't like. Creators, because by virtue of being creators, get to build whatever they want to build. And if it doesn't sell, then it doesn't sell. That's on them. Then there's multiple vectors of what a creator can consider success, right? There's commerciality and there's the creative process. And there are many creators, there have been in memoriam across all different types of media, who are primarily focused on the creative process, right? Or the creative output about doing something avant-garde and something that is different than the mainstream. They don't care that much about commerciality. They, however, often, as they get deeper into their careers, don't get good deals. Orson Welles, one of the greatest movie makers of all times, was well known in Hollywood for not tipping out on commerciality. And that's why towards the end of his career, that's why his last movie was never completed until after he died. Right. So,
well, he did do a lot of wine commercials to pay the bills, so it's not like he was like above, But I know what you mean. I know.
Got to keep the lights on, Jaffy, right?
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, But he didn't piss in that yard of movie making. He's like, I'll tell you what, I'll do you fucking wine commercials, but I'm not directing a goddamn Muppet movie. Although I think he was in a Muppet movie actually. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, there are just a lot of people participating in the circle of content creators who are just, I mean, we're going to talk about it a lot tonight, right? First of all, the first key indicator is they talk about, they supposedly do news shows, and then 90% of the content they cover isn't actually news. So,
give me an example. I'm not saying you're wrong, but like, talk to me about like when you say, like when I tune into Kind of Funny or Colin's show or whatever, they'll go through news events. But if you're, and I'm not asking you to name names, but let's say I tune into one of these shows that you're talking about and they say they're going to be news and they're not, do they just go into what? They just go into bitching about something?
Yeah. So I'll give you a great example, incredibly poignant, right? Because, it's a bit of an inside baseball on our creative process, if I can be so presumptuous, BRAP.
Yeah, go ahead.
Spooling up for this week's show, BRAP and I were talking earlier this week about content. He sent me a few articles that had come out talking about Xbox's profitability, and there were things in there about from investment analysts and yada yada yada, and I sent back to BRAP, and I know BRAP gets irritated at me because I do this frequently. And I sent back to BRAP, and I was like, okay, this isn't anything that we knew. This is nothing new. There's no corroboration that's come out. Every point where they're corroborating, right, their points that they bring up in this article, it's all based on people familiar with the matter. There's no SEC filings. There's no, right? So I'm like,
and just so we're clear, you're talking about the article that was in some website about Microsoft not hitting sub numbers and the Activision purchase not being lucrative and blah, blah, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Which was then, I don't know if debunked is the right word, but then Microsoft and Activision came out the next day and said, well, let us explain how all of that is wrong. And then you're like, who knows who to believe? But yeah, if that's what you're talking about. So you're saying these guys just did a whole show on the non-corroborated part of the story.
Yeah, and then we're going to talk tonight, and we now admittedly where I don't push back on BRAP is where sometimes we feel we have a duty to do some debunking, right? So tonight we're going to wind up talking about these PlayStation canceled games that have been cited, right? And part of my, just to give people an early preview, part of my argument will be about since when did we start considering a negative indicator when unannounced games get canceled? First of all, that's like in business terms and in accounting filing terms, that's not considered even a cancellation, right? It doesn't get above the radar because it was taken off the board before you ever reported to anybody that game was coming out on a certain date. Games didn't have any release date, yada yada yada. Yeah. So there's a lot of noise going on around this that have treated that story like it is some story that's above a certain line and is above a certain threshold of reportability, and it's really not. But we can go on.
No, I mean, that whole thing about the canceled stuff is interesting. I mean, I think if it wasn't for the fact that, Sony had, if Sony had a lot more content, I think it would be less of a story. It would still be interesting because a lot of people have been excited that Blue Point might be doing a Bloodborne remake or a God of War 1 remake. I mean, there were, and instead coming out with this is like, okay, that's weird. That's interesting. And there were some leaked footage or art recently of this Bend, Oregon game that looked like it was a Siphon Filter MMO or whatever. And so it would have been still a relevant story to gamers, but I will agree with you that it only got, I think, a lot more oxygen just because Sony has unfortunately doubled, tripled down so much on games that haven't been working, whether they cancel them, they're not out yet. everything from Fair Play to Concord to the canceled Twisted Metal game, to Factions, Last of Us Factions, that and it's not like they've backfilled that with anything. You could say, well, what about Stellar Blade? What about Rise of the Ronin? What about Astrobot or whatever? And that's true, but I think people expect more from Sony in terms of first party exclusives that, every 4 to 5 months, you're like, oh my fucking God. And they haven't delivered that this generation. So I do think it takes on a bigger sense of significance. But in a vacuum, I think you're right. I had tons of games canceled no one ever heard of, because it's just part of the process. You want people to cancel games because that means there's a limit. There's a thing of like, it's not good enough for us.
Yeah, and that was kind of like, that's kind of Logic's point too, has been his point of like, hey, like cancellations actually, I forgot what you said, Logic. It shows fiscal responsibility,
governance and fiscal responsibility.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there's. I read a stat somewhere, Jaffy. What was it? I forget the number, but some astronaut, not say like some high number of games never like meet retail. I think it's like 90-something%. I don't remember the.
You mean
number.
That go into production but never ship?
Yeah, never ship. Yeah,
I mean that's a hard number these days because there's so many indies making games. What does that mean? If you mean at a AAA level, though,
level, yeah,
it's certainly not 90%. I mean, I think most things that get greenlit, honestly, I think they certainly more than 50% make them out the door, because I think at this point, with the budgets being what they are, there's so many checks and balances that have to be done. That you're gonna have no choice but to sort of make sure you've crossed the T's and dotted the I's over and over and over. But you also, because of that, get a lot of relatively uninspired stuff, because everybody's got to have their say, and it's got to be safe enough to merit a $400 million budget. But the whole thing, it's the same shit.
And I think those numbers. I think there's two numbers, right? There's numbers of games that never get, and this will become a question, because I've always been uncertain about when in the software development life cycle in the gaming industry is the line on pre-production versus production, prototyping versus pre-production, and when do you consider a project actually in run? So my initial interpretation of the first number, which was that those are the projects that never even get greenlit, right? They never get the budget, and I'm assuming, and you can corroborate this or not, that there are different levels of funding, and that there's always some level of initial like incubation funding for a project team, in very small numbers, right, to start some initial prototyping before they ever go in front of whatever governance board to make their pitch. And so there's a percentage of games that never clear that initial gate review.
Oh, yeah. I mean, depending on the studio. I mean, I know when I was at Sony Santa Monica, and then the other companies that I was working at with Scott Campbell for Eat Sleep Play, and then Bartlett Jones, you would always start on paper, right? You would always start with like a 1 to 3 pager. And then out of like 30 of those, everybody would talk and debate and discuss, and the powers that be, whoever they were, depending on the company, would say, okay, maybe out of these 20, we're going to really focus on these 2 or 3. And then, it's not like the old days where now it is a lot easier to prototype something and kind of go, is this even functional, right? So at Bartlett Jones, my last company, we spent like 6 months trying to find a game that we would do after Drawn to Death, and we were just prototyping like crazy. And one of them was chosen by Sony, and we moved into kind of early production with it. It's not like movies where there's, there are phases, but depending on the sometimes the art team might be into actual production because they know things about what we're going to do. And, the development team, other parts of them are still like trying to figure out the game. Like God of War 1, we built the middle of the game before we even knew what the story was, right? So there were parts of the team that were in full production, while the sort of the writing and stuff and the character design was still pre-production. So, but yeah, I mean, it's and then what ended up happening with the game, Sony said, yeah, we'll make. Eventually it got a little bit into production, and there were some internal politics that happened, and then they killed the game. So it's kind of like those little turtles that come out of the sand, the baby turtles, and most of them don't make it to the sea, but there's so many of them that eventually a few of them will get there every year, or more than a few, but it's like that. The number of games, if you're talking about that, the number of games from an idea or paper standpoint that never even make it into sort of proper green light. Oh yeah, there's tons of those. Everybody's got 20 games they want to make at a studio, and it's like a Hunger Games for who's going to get the chance. So
Yeah. Jeff, you brought up an interesting point about kind of this I guess lull, if you will, in PlayStation first party, right? At least in comparison to PlayStation 4, right?
Oh yeah.
Where I mean, I always go back to that E3 where it's like Sean Layden just came out on stage. He was like, "Okay, we got something else to show you," and that was pretty much it. That's all he said. It was like trailer after trailer after trailer. It was kind of like the running joke of that E3. So you think some of this, and I do agree with you. Some of this seems, I think, to your point, just amplified a bit because we're not or haven't seen a lot of those games, that we saw, or at least the cadence of releases, or at least the cadence of, hey, show us something, right? I always hear people say roadmap. I'm not someone who focuses so much on roadmap just because there's just a lot of other stuff that I want to play too.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, like I given the talent of Sony first party studio, like I definitely want to see what they're working on. I'm not as wrapped around, as borrow a line from Logic, wrapped around the axle about it as much as other people. But I do agree that I think this particular cancellation of these was it 2 or 3 unannounced live service games, I do agree in the sense that it's amplified because we haven't seen the other stuff. And maybe if we saw the other stuff, maybe this wouldn't be discussed as much. Or
we haven't seen the other stuff. The stuff we have seen or that we knew about has been, a lot of it's been canceled, right? So think about Sony's master plan, X years ago. At this point, we would all be obsessed with Concord and the Last of Us factions, right? Twisted Metal would probably be about to be released or at least announced. Jade's game probably would about to be released. The Fair Play games, right? I mean, there clearly was a spreadsheet with, when these things are going to hit, and then Faction falls away, Twisted Metal falls away, Concord comes out and goes away within a couple of weeks. And all they're really left with are these things that were probably never meant to do the heavy lifting for their first party, experience. And so, I mean, it's, I have a PlayStation 5. I have all the consoles. I love them all for various different reasons, but certainly it would be incorrect to label somebody as a PlayStation hater because they're calling out the obvious, which is PS5 this generation has been good in a lot of ways, but it has suffered from a lack of exciting brand new games. It's a lot of remakes, it's a lot of sequels, and I think gamers have been rightly so trained to expect more than that, certainly from first party. And even like right now, there was kind of I don't know if it's accurate or not, but there was a NeoGAF thread that said right now Sony has more PlayStation productions, meaning the movie TV studio titles announced than the games they've announced. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it certainly feels true. It's like, it's hard to get with something like Xbox right now, you can get excited. Granted, these are all going to end up on Sony anyway, but you can get excited about Doom or Avowed or South of Midnight or Indiana Jones DLC or more season 2 coming out for Call of Duty. And again, it's not limited because Xbox is now pretty much going third party, but that's the kind of stuff I think gamers have been taught to expect, and I don't think they're wrong to expect it. And Sony hasn't delivered that this generation.
Well, I think, and now we're getting into like the shades of gray, right? We talked a little bit about the hyperbole before, and what's news and what's like, and I think that's one of the huge key differences, right, in this discussion of kind of the community dynamic. There's news, right, which is business impact and some of the other stuff that we talk, development life cycle, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And in my opinion, quite frankly, again, a little snobbish, but I very, 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 very often, probably say it on the show maybe once every 2 weeks, right? Like my interest level in hearing people's opinions about the SDLC who haven't put their hands on a keyboard since Mrs. Titmeyer's, high school Apple II class. I don't
even know what the fuck SDLC is. So what is that?
That's software development lifecycle. So, which okay. you know what it is.
I know what I've lived it. I just don't know it was called that. Okay. Yeah.
So right. So that's what a lot of this is, right? And a lot of the hyperbole and the noise is the grotesque extrapolation to, oh my God, this is the last generation of PlayStation. Sony's about to topple over. Like all these gossip, rumor, drama, like soap opera type stuff. Like, no, there's a problem with the production pipeline. It has been admittedly, it's down in terms of previous generations because of some of these choices that have been made.
Yep.
They've gone in a certain direction that has burned some fuel. Now they're trying to swerve that. However, if I look at the generation, and then I also look at the competitive market, it's bad, but my business evaluation of it is tempered, right? It's not the sky is falling. It's not
No.
Tower of Pisa is toppling over.
No, I mean, Sony's making great money on the PlayStation 5. They're doing great. I think there's a lot of things that intersect, right? There's the drama of it, and frankly, drama can be and often is fun. I mean, it's I think if it's the tricky part about it is a lot of these things get confused with one another, right? I can go to certain shows and go, like, if I go to IGN, I'm not expecting to listen to a podcast from IGN and really give a fuck about, deep market condition analysis. But if they're like, hey, we played the new Horizon DLC, all right, that's something I can go to IGN for, right? Some of these opiners, like I think Colin Moriarty's great. His Sacred Symbols is great when it comes to sort of opining and analytics about what's happening in the PlayStation sphere. And then some of these guys, if you go in knowing, okay, this is just kind of, it's kind of like the video shared version of the corner sports bar where people get together and bitch about their teams and my team's better than your team. And I think all of those things have a place, and all of those things are fun and worthy to exist in this space. I think the problem is just the it's not even a problem. It's just, don't watch it if you don't like it. But my God, there is so much bitchiness and negativity and cruelty, and that you stop. Like when you go down to the corner bar and you think about, where I come from in the South, an Auburn fan and Alabama fan, 9 times out of 10, they're not really angry at each other. It's like, I'm going to tell you that, Bear Bryant can go suck a bag of moldy severed dicks. And you're going to tell me that, right. But I mean, and that Auburn hasn't, they only win when the other team basically shows up drunk or whatever. And we're laughing and it's fun and there's passion behind it, but it's not, but I think on the internet, there's a lot of this stuff that's just like, dude, no, who cares? And the thing is, you can't tell on the other end in the comment section. So you can't tell if you're being trolled. You can't tell if you're being talked to by someone who is neurodivergent and simply doesn't get sarcasm or doesn't really communicate the same way you might communicate a point. And so they take things that are very literal that you're just fucking around about. And you can't tell how old these people are. And so in that, you really get into a situation where you don't even know who your fucking audience is. And so it becomes very hard very quickly to figure out, is this healthy or is this just fun and we're shooting the shit? And I think everybody has a different answer depending on who they are when they're watching certain things. And it's something I've been struggling with since I've started streaming regularly, is like how serious to take the people who are typing in the chat, how serious to take the comments, because I don't fucking know. I wish I did. And I think that colors it a lot. I mean, do you guys struggle knowing? I'm looking at your chat right now. I don't know who out there is just like, I'm going to fucking say this and fuck with this guy. And who out there is really passionate about the business of video games.
I mean, I will say, again, I apologize for speaking. If I'm speaking for you, Brad, I would say, I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent. The effort here is to have a mature, adult, relatively serious conversation. Not saying that we don't have fun, but like, I will say, I think we tolerate fools lightly on this show. Like, we just don't have a lot of patience and tolerance for people coming in here, hand waving, making assertions that are unfounded. There's with no objective evidence that, Sony's on their way to going out of business, right? And by the same token, right, we're gonna pull you up, right, if you assert that Xbox has done a thing that is bad, but I can look over and find high review scores or some awards. Like, look, lots of PlayStation players didn't like Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
I didn't care for it
too. There were it only went but so far for me. But well regarded by the industry, right? Considered of artistic value. Struck some chords in a certain direction. Not big banga. It didn't go up for for Game of the Year, but it did win
Right.
some awards, and I can't remember what her name is, but
The actress.
won best performance at the TGAs. We also often emphasize on the show, please don't come in here whining and belly aching about just the TGAs unless you are actually aware of the other awards. Like, so we try to have a 360 well-rounded
and I will say, by the way, speaking of that, the DICE Award nominations this week were wonderful. They were great for the first time. I was like, okay, that's a bunch of games that are pretty fucking cool.
They were really, really, I say weird to me, and I mean, and probably just because I hadn't thought about this. I think this is one of the years that I wasn't teed up waiting for the nominations to drop. They are very, very vectored in a non-mainstream direction, and I'm well aware that DICE is like the industry, and it's a lot more, what developers think is the state of creativity, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot more opportunity for a lot of smaller titles and unique titles and stuff to get a lot more airtime. But I was admittedly kind of caught off guard by the nominations in aggregate. I mean, it's good. Totally agree that it's good.
Yeah.
Just caught me off guard, maybe just because I didn't think about it.
You mean you were caught off guard by the fact that there were so many different titles nominated that you're not used to seeing?
That is the key. I mean, even in past years, DICE has still had this center of mass and aggregate force behind certain key titles, but it's way distributed this year, far more than anticipated.
I don't know how conscious of a choice that was or what that's about. I'd love to hear them address it, but as somebody that plays a lot of video games and doesn't just get anywhere close to being locked into the console ecosystem, I mean, I'm playing everything. It's really great to see because I'm like, okay, this starts to be a little bit more respectful of the medium. Whereas I think, and I love Keeley's show. I think it's a very enjoyable, it's fun to make fun of, but it's also a well-produced, good show. But I think most of us believe that the awards are kind of like an afterthought, and they don't really reflect always the best and the brightest of what the industry's offering that previous year. And so I thought this was absolutely great. And I assume we'll see something similar with GDC. They just announced their Independent Game Festival nominees yesterday. And those are just as varied because if you play on PC and console, it becomes very impossible very quickly to not recognize, holy shit, I've been living in a tiny little small town called just console gaming, and I've suddenly moved to Tokyo or New York City, and it's like, oh my god, there's this whole world that's not even on people's radar that exists outside of traditional console spaces. That's just amazing shit. It's wonderful.
Yeah, well, according to some fans, last year was a down year for gaming.
It's ridiculous,
and this whole generation is entirely disappointing.
So back to that point, Logic, and this goes kind of back to the conversation around community. Like that's the thing. I don't. Someone on the panel, it was you, Logic, or Jaffy, were like, gamers tend to be bitchy or whine and I don't understand. Like, yes, did 2024 have a banger year? Like I say, banger year, like AAA games. These big blockbuster titles like 2020. 3, no, probably not, but it was still a good year in gaming. And then back to the conversation about the canceled PlayStation live service games. Had those games released and been bad, they would have been upset too. It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Like I mean, that's one of my key points is right. Like, and this is where I talk about when there are shades of gray, being able to bucketize and compartmentalize things. And talk about them in terms of comparative impact. Did some games get canceled? Yes. Is there a negative to that in terms of, again, fuel that was expended by a development team racing in a certain direction only to be pulled up? Yes. However, does that happen? Yes. Does it happen frequently? In the gaming industry? Hell the F yes, right? But then you look at the comparative impact, and again, I go back to the only reason a game gets canceled is because someone is providing oversight, because there are gate reviews, because there's a requirement for you to get on a red carpet in front of somebody and tell them your status and show them what it has that you have. It doesn't happen when you're allowed to sit in
well, I won't call out the state where certain developers sit, where you're allowed to sit and just toil away, and for somebody to ask for a status report and to hear silence from you for months, until the point where you have to get on a plane to freaking go to the studio to see what the hell is going on. Right. So again,
yeah, I mean, that is the job of, and that's why I always kind of get annoyed. I know there was a lot of people today, and I happen to be one of the people that liked, it's just on the screen right now, so I'm looking at it, but Dragon Age Veilguard. I thought it was a really fun game. And I understand people's complaints about it as it relates to not being a typical Dragon Age game. It wasn't violent, it was kiddie, whatever. But fundamentally, though, them going after the developer, yeah, you can blame the developer for maybe having ideas that didn't land with you. But I look at it and I go, what the fuck was EA thinking? If a real hit on that game was it's too far afield of what Dragon Age fans want, that's an EA issue. For someone to step in at an executive level and go, guys, what are you doing? Like, that to me is the story that isn't being told. And I'm like, why are we concentrating on, oh no, the director left. Yay, we hated the director. That's what a lot of people are saying and stuff. I'm like, what? I didn't feel that way at all, but I understand some people did. But I'm like, dude, what about the fact that the major complaint is it wasn't, if what you guys are saying is right, it wasn't Dragon Age. And yet, EA just let it keep going and going and going. And when were they ever going to step in and say, what are you doing? This isn't our brand. But I don't know. So I agree with you. I think you've got to have the oversight.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so you get EA's great example. EA doesn't do anything about Anthem. Anthem comes out, and look, I liked Anthem. In fact,
Yeah.
I feel horrible because I really went, because I stayed away from it and then really dove in feet deep, right? Because EA said that they were going to continue working at it and turn the thing around. And then shortly after that, they said, nope, actually, second thought, we're going to pull up chains and we're done. So, but they let Anthem go and they didn't intervene and they didn't do anything, right? So is it bad that a game gets canceled because somebody's showing oversight, or is it worse that a game comes out because no oversight was shown, because people aren't paying attention, people are asleep at the wheel, people continue to get promoted and fail upwards, right?
I mean, I think if you know why something was canceled, you're absolutely right. I think when it comes to the whole God of War service-based game news, we don't have all the data yet. So, and we may never have it. But if that was a game that was canceled because, it just wasn't very good, okay, sure. But if that was a game that was canceled because, it was very similar to like Monster Hunter, but so is the Horizon game. And in my opinion, I think Horizon is a substantially weaker brand for Sony. But Herman Hulst seems to be, have a bee in his fucking bonnet about putting Horizon on everything, including fucking, anywhere that Doom can run, he wants Horizon on, clearly. That, then it becomes a little weird. But we don't, and that's just us speculating. I don't know if that's true or not. But yeah, I agree. Oversight is important because, yes men are dangerous when you're talking about this shit. You got to have a good balance. Sony used to have a brilliant balance. They were wonderful at managing creatives. They let creatives run. They let creatives do the things that they need to do to be creative and excited. But you couldn't go too far afield without somebody stepping in and saying, wait a second, what's happening? We want you to have freedom. We want you to make your dream game, but maybe not so much with that choice you're about to make, right? Maybe that still happens, or maybe it happens later in the process than it should. But yeah, I'm with you on the oversight. It's good stuff.
Forte, what's going on, man?
What's up, man?
I see you show up when we have Jaffy here, but you don't show up any other week, man. What's up with that?
Sir. First of
yes.
all, don't come at me. I'm tired today. I sold a bunch of Pokemon prismatics, and I had 50 people in line and only had enough for like 20 of them. So it was a busy day today.
Forte, what we doing about the Nintendo Switch 2? What's the plan, man? I know you got.
I already got mine paid off. All I just tell me what hey, I got $600 sitting on the gift card right now to buy whatever the system costs and the games that come out with it, without trading in my Zelda Switch, because I'm keeping that.
Is there a lot of buzz just from a retail perspective? Are you seeing a lot of buzz?
No. I think people are kind of smart right now. It's kind of weird. and interesting because nobody's really called about it, but I think it's mostly due to the fact that Nintendo explicitly put that April 2nd date up there.
Yeah.
And people was like, well, I know ain't nobody gonna be doing pre-orders on this thing at least until that point. Because not one person has called about it. And I know there's interest in it because leading up into, I want to say, end of December, when we sold out of Switches, everybody was asking, like, do you think I should wait? Do you think this? And I was like, I mean, if you really want the new one, it's going to come some point this year, but people just didn't want to wait, so they popped that money down now.
Best Buy already has their pre-orders to the pre-orders up.
They do.
Yeah, the little alert that says, "Hey, sign up here."
And guess what? Yeah. All those pre-orders are going to get canceled.
Yeah, sign up here. Yeah,
because they're going to be like, "Hey, we took way too many pre-orders, and we wasn't supposed to." But yeah. We'll
Real quick, I Forte, I'm just busting your chops. Great to see you. I'm actually glad you're here because big game tomorrow. We'll maybe talk about that later on.
That's a big. Yeah, you're right. We're gonna be talking tomorrow.
Yeah, big game tomorrow.
I got the wrong one on. Hold on.
Oh boy, here we go.
That's the case. I had the wrong one on. We're national champions for at least 3 more days until Notre Dame beats Ohio State. But we'll put this one on today. We already know what's going on. All right.
Yeah, I want to go. I want to go back to the PlayStation canceling 2 games because we talked about the cadence, right? Comparison, last generation, Jaffy. Do you think because it does seem to me at least that maybe they've stepped off the gas a little bit, and is that because of you mentioned this, like they're making a lot of money on PlayStation 5, they're doing well without this regular cadence of first party, and then they really don't have a competitor per se in their space anymore. We know Microsoft's Xbox, they're pivoting, kind of doing their own thing, which is fine. We talk about this on this show too. People tend to argue about which companies has the best business model, and we were always like, look, companies are going to do what companies are going to do what's best for them. Let's not argue about what business model's the best or the future or whatever the case is. They're gonna do what makes sense for them. But is this do you think this is a situation of, hey, we know we're the market leader, our consoles are still selling well, we're making a lot of money, we can kind of take our time, there's Xbox is pivoting.
I mean, I'm sure there's some of that going on, but I think the 2 bigger things really have to do with, they've really design themselves into a very beautiful, very lucrative corner that eventually won't be as lucrative, right? Which is they are known for a certain kind of game. And that doesn't just mean single player, third person, although that is what I'm talking about to a large extent, but they are known for high polish, high production value, and thus very expensive AAA games. That's sort of what they've trained people to expect from the box. And those things are taking longer and longer to make. And you also have hired a lot of very skilled, talented, highly paid people that were hired under the guise of I'm coming here to be an artist. I mean, that's in the HR of the website. And it's, that's what, it doesn't mean that they get to go there and do whatever they want, but there is a sense of this is almost like a big budget boutique operation where that is certainly, I would imagine, having an effect. And then on top of it, the people in this industry now know, like the industry is shifting so dramatically that it's probably hard for them to figure out, okay, who are we supposed to be moving forward? Because the idea of the kids coming up today, I read a stat today that like the only gaming system that did well last year was PC. Like everything, they called it a bright spot. This is an analytical report on gaming in last year and this year. And they said PC was the only bright spot, whether you're talking about handheld or you're talking about desktop. They're like, good luck. I think one of the closing lines of the report was like, good luck convincing hundreds of millions of kids who've come up with Fortnite to part with $500 for a console to play AAA games. It's like, that's not what the new generation defines as video games. It just isn't. They're laughing at crazy shit like Chained Together or Fortnite or the fucking thing where you're the dude in the the witch cauldron, trying to getting over it and all that shit. I mean, that's their gaming culture, right? And it doesn't mean that there's no room for the other stuff. There certainly is, but I think if you're Sony, you've got the games are taking really long. They're really expensive. The market is incredibly unpredictable in terms of like, you know, the top games of the year. Who would have predicted some of these? Like, you know, that the more kids and more audience members would be playing much cheaper games than their big budget, you know, quadruple A things. It's just, it's kind of, that's not what they've built themselves for. So I think they've got a bunch of things, and I'd like to think, and I have to assume, but maybe not, that there's someone there or a group of people there at the executive level that are very aware of what's going on outside of PlayStation. And they play PC games, they play mobile games, and they understand, even though Xbox is not a threat right now, they understand the forward-thinking choices. Not all of them will pay off, maybe few of them will pay off, but a sense of the disruption that is happening and will continue to happen for a while in the game business. And it does seem like they're doing business as usual. And I think that's got to be a really, if you're awake in Sony and you're an executive and you're aware of what's going on, you've got to be really nervous, I think, or at least passionate about putting a plan into place that addresses these things, because the gaming culture has shifted. It's insane how today's kids, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, don't give a shit. They're not like can't wait for summer vacation so we can pour over the Elden Ring strategy guide and figure out the whole, that doesn't exist anymore. They've moved on. Adults do that. But it's a real different, it's a different medium in a lot of ways.
You know what? I was gonna say, you know what's funny, and just talk about AAA development budgets and like the situation Sony's in. I was talking to my daughter about it because I was down here playing college football. She was on my PC next to me playing Hawkeye Star Rail. And I was like just watching her play it, and she has like well over like 800 hours in that game. Right. And I was like, hey, have you ever, and I'm watching the game, I never really watched her play it, and I'm like, this kind of like turn-based RPG. I said, have you ever thought about playing like Final Fantasy 7 or something like that? I said, we got it on the PlayStation 5. And she said, yeah, I thought about it. I just ain't really interested. I just really love this game, and I just stick with this. And she's like, and I just found that interesting. I'm like, literally the same games are like on, like more established games are on consoles that I own in a house, and they just don't look at them. Like outside of Spider-Man, which she was looking forward to because Spider-Man is one of her favorite characters. Right. That's like the only thing that kind of dragged her onto my PlayStation, or anything other than like Honko Star Rail or Genshin Impact. She still plays Roblox. And all of my kids do too, or at least one of mine does. But all of those games you mentioned, Star Rail and Genshin and Roblox, all of those are multiplayer. I know Roblox is, but the other two are as well, correct? Yeah, they are.
And you can't, you cannot underestimate the power of the social dynamic that has come along with online environments for these kids. I mean, that is how whether it's Discord, which now has their own suite of games, or whether it's Fortnite or Roblox or Genshin or whatever, that is how they, or one of the key ways that's their mall that they hang out in. When I was a kid, we hung out on the weekends at the mall. Now they hang out in Fortnite. And I'm not trying to be like soundbitey about it, but I see it. It's literally happening. My son is, 3 rooms over, and he's probably on Fortnite right now with his friends, just shooting the shit and looking, hey, Godzilla just dropped on Fortnite, which it did today.
Yeah, it did.
It's cool.
Mecca.
Hey, Jaffy, it's interesting. You bring up a point about the social aspect of it, because I see it too. I have a 10-year-old. Although it's interesting, as my 15-year-old has gotten older, he's gotten away from the social game, he's now dipping his toes into the games that I play as an adult, like more of the AAA experience. So it's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting, because he was like that, social, and now it's changed. And I think part of that's because he has the ability now to go out, like not hang out at the mall with his friends. They don't, because there's no, right. I mean, there's still malls, but
what's a mall?
But now, he's going to parties, he's going out to like games, high school basketball games, football games, they're going out, going to a friend's house. But definitely my 10-year-old, like they're not like we used to go. It's funny, you mentioned D&D, right? Like just go to my buddy's house and play D&D when we were like 10 years old, 11 years old, right? Dungeon Master, play some D&D. It was different. It was a different time. But it's funny, like that social aspect. And I mentioned Godzilla. Like my 10-year-old, I remember like, hey, we got to get home because who was it? I don't know if it was Travis Scott. It was or Snoop Dogg and Ice Spice are going to be on Fortnite. I'm like, oh my
yeah,
goodness.
That was the Christmas bundle.
Yeah, and they were all in this room together, and like and I could see them, and I'm like, and that's like their happy hours, kids. I guess what I'm curious to see. I guess we'll figure this out at some point. Because we talked about this Logic. When our kids get older and they have more disposable income, do their consumption habits change? Do they start maybe looking at different games when they start getting out and about, I guess, quote unquote, the real world, right? They're working jobs, they have more disposable income. Do they start looking at these more expensive options of gaming now? Is that something that happens? Or maybe it doesn't happen. Yeah.
I also want to enter in an argument, a thing that I don't think gets discussed enough. So BRAP, you have a background in sociology. I think part of the components of this discussion, and admittedly we're at fault too, right? We often bathtub into the things that we've mentioned, right? Disposable income, not saying that anything anybody's mentioned is invalid, but like the whole thing about, oh well, but my nephew only plays on tablets and that's all that they care about. But I want to talk a little bit about the evolution of. Jaffy, you brought it up earlier today. What is a gamer? And I want to talk about that evolution, right, from a historical and a sociological perspective. BRAP, you and I have talked about this often. At the inception of gamerdom, which I was around for at the dawn of time.
Was Jaffy there?
Gaming.
I was there when Mancala was created back in in ancient Egypt. So, but yeah, video games. I was there. Yeah, I was there in Space War. Wasn't my first one, but Boot Hill was.
Yeah,
two little pixel cowboys projected onto a piece of plexiglass because they couldn't do backgrounds or art. It was just the humans, and they were. It's amazing, mind blowing.
So at the dawn of the industry, gaming was the purview of nerds.
Yes.
Right? Smart people. You didn't get to, you didn't really talk about gaming in a very loud, obnoxious manner in the cafeteria. Right? You kind of talked about it in whispers. Right? It wasn't cool. Right? Then slowly over time, we have evolved that demographic to now where it includes the dude bro gamer, the person who just buys Madden and Call of Duty every year.
Yeah.
And all sorts of spectrum of sociological demographics in between.
Yeah.
Right. We now also have this demographic. It's an additive demographic, right? And that's the key thing I think that I would formulate my thesis around, which is these people who are finding themselves stimulated by the social aspect of games. But Jaffy, I like what you said, which is that there's room for the other stuff. Because part of the problem with the discussion that happens is that stuff's being pushed out and there's no place for it. And now, right, this argument about business models is always a binary one or the other argument.
Which stuff is being pushed out?
Well, the argument is that there's no more room for AAA.
I think that's relatively accurate, honestly. I think what you're seeing is, and it really is fascinating to me because it speaks exactly to what you're talking about, which is let's just call the group we'll call them nerd gamers, which is probably all of us and the people you're talking about. And I remember when I first started working at Sony and we put out Mickey Mania and then we put out Twisted Metal. And at the time, the market, it was lucrative, but if you sold 100,000 copies of a game, it was like, oh my God, we've reached the promised land. And that was on console, right? And PS1 comes along and sort of shifts and opens up the valve to a lot more people. And then the definition of big success changes. And now you're talking 500,000, 1 million, 4 million. And now we're at I saw last night that Mario Kart 8, if you include the deluxe edition, has sold 65 million copies, right? And so but that group of gamers that are the nerd gamers, the ones that care about Final Fantasy or the ones that care about, are you going to, even if they're younger, like your 15-year-old son is not going to be thinking about, hey, when's the new Parasite Eve coming out? But he may be excited to pick up, the Metal Gear Delta or any of these kind of more narrative-based adventure games, blah, blah, blah. I think that group is still passionate about their games. It's just that it's as small as it ever was. It hasn't necessarily really grown that much. And so it can't sustain those budgets anymore, right? The only thing that can sustain those budgets now have to be the social ones, or have to be the ones that are evergreen, like, college football or Call of Duty or whatever. And now you're seeing a lot of the great work being done at a smaller budget in the indie space and the AA space. And I think that's great because I play there. But I think if you are looking at AAA, it makes sense you would go, what happened to my hobby? They're not doing any of it. It's like, no, they're totally doing everything you want. They're just not necessarily doing it coming out of first party with the world's best graphics, right? And that's been a hard adjustment, I think, for a lot of people to be willing to make, because for so long they've been used to being the audience that had been catered to. It's like, we're the hardcore gamer. We want our graphics, and we want this, and we want this license, and we want the sequel. And it's like, that's cool, but y'all don't make enough money for us anymore. And so I think that's the change. But I still think that beginning group, that demographic is still very important, but it's just probably not as important to the console makers that it used to be. And I think those people are going to have to discover lower budget games, just like music fans. They find the alt. If you're really into music, you find the alt bands that are doing the really interesting work, or the really interesting authors that are not, the guy who wrote the Da Vinci Code. Once you really get into that phase, you're out of the mainstream, and things aren't going to cost as much to entertain you because there's not enough of you.
Yeah, I don't necessarily entirely. I don't disagree with you. I think I just have a slightly different view. It's sort of to go back to round out kind of the thesis I was pitching. Right, what we're seeing in evolving over time is there are more and more of those of those additive demographics, right, being bolted on, right. But just like you said, right, that old core, and that. But I think part of my difference is that old core to me isn't necessarily around the core gamer, so to speak. The other dynamic to me to it that's key is that they're introverts, and that a lot of people that get attracted to gaming are introverted, and we're not. I don't think we're making less human beings like that now. So I think those people are going to continue being interested in those games, and those are things that are going to also change over the arc of their lives, their evolution as gamers.
But okay, right? But if that's the case, then why are we not seeing the pie getting bigger as we get older and still game? And you're saying these younger people come in, and there are these introverts that want those kinds of games. You would think that we would be seeing more people buying consoles, but consoles have stagnated. Console sales have stagnated.
Well, that's because I feel like the core gamer has shifted. Like, the core gamer now is that person that picked up an iPad 10 years ago. Yeah. And they transitioned over to maybe a console, maybe a PC, where, we always talk about it like, we were like during the golden age when it was like taking TVs to friends' houses and stuff like that, or trading games. Like, everybody had a different system in your neighborhood, and you would like literally trade your system with them just so you can experience everything when you were younger and stuff. That was the things we did to like kind of bridge ourselves through this hobby that we call gaming. Now gaming is so much bigger, and there's a lower barrier entry to get into it. Like, most of these people are literally playing games you don't have to pay for. And when you're looking at a situation like that, it's kind of easy for them to be like, you say, like, why aren't they playing these higher end AAA games? It's not the fact that they're not playing it. They're just not interested because they found things that they didn't even have to pay for. Because trust me, I see kids every day that ask their moms and dads and uncles and aunts to buy them this and buy them that. It takes a really special game. Like Grand Theft Auto is one of those games. They'll always ask to play something like that because it's like a one-of-a-kind unique game where there's nothing else really like that. But when it comes to all the other games that they play, like you said, the bro games like Call of Duty, Madden, and NBA and stuff like that, those are always going to be part of that demographic. It's just that there's other AAA type games that people like to play now that's like super low to get into. You don't even have to like ask your mom to go to the store and buy it. You could just download it like Fortnite.
Which is why I'm saying that the people who are going to get excited about Silent Hill 2 remake, which are the nerd gamers, right?
Yeah.
There's not that many more of them. I see your chats talking about gaming so much bigger than it ever was. It's like, yeah, but it's not the people that know who Miyamoto is or know who Kojima is. That's not the demographic that's getting bigger.
Right.
And if you look I'm looking right now at the PlayStation store, you know how they update their top 10 games in the country like every couple of days.
Yeah.
I mean, I want you to listen to this. This what's missing from this list. Number 1 is Fortnite. Number 2 is 2K25. 3 is Call of Duty. 4 is Marvel Rivals. 5 is college football. 6 is soccer from EA. Madden is 8 or 7. Grand Theft Auto Online basically is 8, 9. Roblox, and then Minecraft. There is no Astrobot, there's no Stellar Blade, there's no even if you go over to Xbox, Indiana Jones is number 15. I was looking at earlier for my show is number fucking 15, and everything else is service based and evergreen, and that is what they're playing now. And so I'm sorry, but no matter how good you might think Stellar Blade is or Ghost of Yodi or whatever, they will do well, they will be profitable, but those people who love those games, like me and probably you guys, they're not the majority. And
so, and I don't doubt that they're the majority, and I don't doubt that they're growing. That list of games that you read off, is that their list of top downloads?
PlayStation defines it as top games being played in your country right now.
Okay, so those are engagement numbers. Yeah. So it just again, this is just me personally and my feeling about data over the last few months. And we've talked about it on my show, and I've talked about it on the show. Like the numbers that are getting reported that are engagement and what was typically reported on PlayStation blog as download numbers. I think I've seen evidence that is not necessarily directly correlatable to revenue. So
okay, but download numbers, because the PlayStation blog separates the free to play section from the sort of what you pay for section. And if you go through the top 20 of what you pay for last year, because they did like a top list of the year, only 4 of them were single player narrative games. Spider-Man 2 was in there, Elden Ring, Dragon's Dogma, and Harry Potter. And everything else was the same kind of stuff we just read off. And so the engagement numbers may be a little fluid depending on where you're getting the data from. But wouldn't you agree, though, that if they're listing actual sales and that you're still seeing that pattern, that it probably is a relevant pattern?
You're seeing numbers, right, in types of games. What I'm saying is that, but you are seeing those games on the list, right? We've also talked about Sony's production pipeline, right? So in a year where you like in a 12-month span of time, not necessarily the same calendar year, right? But you put out Spider-Man 2 and you put out Stellar Blade, and both of those games, right, are on that list, then that to me is still indicative that that's still a business, right? That you're not going to give up.
Sure, but they're on that list. Stellar Blade wasn't on that list. That was Spider-Man was number 20, and it was on the list because it had been out for 2 years and they had sold it at a discount. But you're right, though. It will appear like Stellar Blade was on that games being played in your country list. The difference is it was on there for about 3 days and dropped off and never came back, to suggest that there's a lot of people who are excited, but there's not enough of them to sustain that
initial hype, basically.
Yeah.
So
Evening, gentlemen. I feel like I've been here for like 15 minutes and been listening to the conversation and had to say that single word. But evening, gentlemen.
Slow-mo, we purposely didn't want you to say anything, but
listen, I want Slow-mo always to say something because he's my homie. He needs to talk.
Hey, I'm trying to hurry.
I just want to interject real quick. I think it's been kind of proven that the longer someone plays a game, the easier they find it to spend money in a game. I mean, it's the reason why live service games are so successful, and there's the reason why they have.
Slow-mo would know this. He spends a lot of money. He's a whale.
I am definitely Shamu over here. So like it's the reason why
doesn't even deny it.
That they make it free, even though they spent millions upon millions of dollars in years making the game. They make it free because they know it's good, and the longer you play it, the more willing you are to get the battle pass, to see that skin you thought was dope and buy that. And the next thing you know, you spent more money than you would have spent if it was just a upfront full price game that was $70. I don't know how much money I spent in Fortnite. I also don't know how much money I spent in Marvel Rivals, and that literally just came out.
And so it's spending money on COD.
Oh yeah, I definitely bought all the Squid Game stuff. Yes, like I said, Shamu over here.
They got Squid Game on COD
works.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
bro.
Oh man, I might have to download.
I bought all the stuff I bought all the stuff over there too. And like Slow-Mo said,
Forte's a whale as well. See, it's the way it works, and the reason why they do it, and the reason why Sony tried so hard to push into it, as 6 to 7 games canceled out of the 12 so far. Maybe not the best actual strategy they went through, but the reason why they did it, because this is what makes money now. It's unfortunate that us old guys, we talk about, and all the nostalgia. And back in the day, you definitely the oldest here for BRAP. Anyway, so like
I am not the oldest. That would be Forte's 55.
Huh?
I thought Forte was 60, but it's fine. Look, all the nostalgia we got from back in the day, and all that, but gaming was so much smaller then, and now it's bigger than music and TV and film combined. We didn't make it that big. What made it that big is a generation of gamers that grew up with gaming, and this is what they like.
Yeah,
and because now that's where all the money is. These platforms and publishers will continue to try to make games that appeal to them. Now, do we also want something that appeals to us as well? I may dabble in the live service stuff, but I also like my single player games. I played through Elden Ring and the DLC. I played through Starfield. I don't really care about Indiana Jones, but it is what it is. Like, I will go through both. I think there always will be a market for the kind of games that we like, but it's just going to change in the future. The budgets can't continue to keep skyrocketing as they are. It's just not sustainable. It needs to come down some. I don't know what that means. Does that mean that the production value has to come down as well? Maybe not everyone needs to be mocap. Maybe you don't need the big name Hollywood actor to be your main actor in your movie and your game, knowing that he or she going to cost a ton of money. Whatever it is, something has to make it more sustainable. But I don't think it will fully go away.
Oh, I don't think it will ever go away. I think it's thriving. It's just not thriving where a lot of gamers are used to seeing it. And that's where they get the narrative from of like, oh, it was a terrible year for games. But if you played at AA or lower, you hear people say that and you're like, what are you talking about? There were amazing games this year in the single player space. And and I understand. I know why you would be upset if you're like used to having all the hardcore AAA games come to you, and it must suck to feel like you're not willing to slum it in the indie space or slum it in the AA space. Yeah, I get it. That's too bad. But every medium has done that. There's no medium that doesn't increase budgets and then in doing so be forced to cast a wider net of mainstream acceptance. That's movies do it, TV does it, books do it, music do it. There's no reason to assume it wouldn't have happened to video games. That's what's happening now. And it's like, you got to go to the indie record store, guys. Sorry. That's where you're going to find what you love. Mostly.
So
my two favorite games of last year were Indica, a indie game about a nun. Game. Awesome game. And Slay the Princess that actually came out in 2023, but Slay the Princess is fantastic. I did a full stream of it. Like it ended up being 4 hours. I had no idea it was going to take that long, but it was a fantastic stream. I enjoyed every minute of it. And that developer, the next time they drop something, I'm there day one. Like these indies is where the innovation is. And then you get when something really is successful on the indie scene, then the publishers and platforms go, ooh, what was that? Okay, then this thing, they get a pitch and it's like, hey, let's do a AAA version of that. That's where the innovation finally moves up the chain. But if you really into gaming, like Jaffy's right, you need to be out there looking at these indies. You need to be looking at that's where you're going to get the enjoyment from.
So hey, let me. I hear you guys about that. And
sorry, Lodge, real quick. I got to get to super chat. It's been marinating here for a bit.
Nate's going to stab you.
Yeah, Nate with the $5. Yeah, Nate with the $5 super chat. When your goal is dragging down the other box and not focus on maximizing great games from all platforms, you lost sight of the goal as a gamer. Thank you for that super chat, Nate. Go ahead, Logic.
I think I've heard bits and pieces of the stuff that I agree with, like kind of scattered throughout the conversation, right? Which is, yes, I agree and I understand that demographic isn't growing, but I also don't think that it's shrinking. It may be shrinking comparatively in comparison to some of these new demographics that are coming in, which I'll just say I'll just call them casual for right now. It's not meant to be a weaponizing comment, right? But I don't think that core gamer is shrinking, and I think that there is, just as you guys have said, that there's still places for that. That there's still a place for that content. I think part of the problem of the industry is too many games. The industry is just providing more inventory than can possibly be consumed. When we talk about single player games that are, high level AAA, high level AA, AAA, last year top selling games included in the US at least included Dragon Ball Sparkling Zero, Elden Ring, Dragon's Dogma 2, right? So there's still places for those games, as you guys have mentioned. I don't disagree with you. First of all, I don't disagree with you at all that gamers, if they're really interested in the culture and the art in general, need to open up their aperture and open up their palette and play AA and play indie games. Absolutely. My challenge question for you guys is, when you talk about applying that to what the industry should do, my problem is those games don't sell.
They do
in
sell
big numbers. So
right.
What does the industry do to respond to that?
Well, I have a thought, but I'll wait. You guys jump in.
No, go ahead, Jaffy.
I mean, there's a couple ways. I mean, Nintendo has been doing the best job of it, right? Which is Nintendo puts the gameplay first, right? And so in that, their hardware doesn't cost as much, their budgets don't cost as much. And then on the other spectrum, the other side of it, you've got, it's not that AA games don't sell. It's not that a game like Mouthwashing doesn't sell, or a game like Indica doesn't sell. I'm sure Indica probably made a tidy profit, because Indica probably was made with like 3 or 4 people, and then it was published through whoever published it, and they were like, "Fuck, we each got $100,000 bonus. Let's make another one." I mean, there is an appetite at smaller companies for tidy profits, but you can't do that in these big corporate machines anymore, right? Even movies used to have the boutique studios where it would be like, okay, yeah, we're going to make Marvel Endgame, but we're also going to make this small little, Call Me by My Name or whatever, that's still from a subdivision of Fox or whatever. And they still do that to an extent, but even that has gotten less. Video games, like Sony doesn't seem interested. I would love for Sony to open up a boutique branch, kind of like what the movies used to have, and go, we're not going to spend more than $8 million a game, and we're going to use that to bring back some old classics. Let's remake Siphon Filter. Let's try a Twisted Metal, try a SOCOM, and we're going to do really weird, innovative stuff and kind of farm league it that might become a big AAA game. But the reason they don't do that is that if you make a game and it costs $8 million and you only have to sell at $25, let's say, I don't know the math, but let's just say you have to sell 150,000 copies to make your profit. And then it's like, okay, wow, we did great. We sold 700,000 copies. So look, we made a profit of, $8 million or whatever. That doesn't do anything for them. That's nothing, right? They're used to now when their executives can look at the money you make when you have a Helldivers or you have a Fortnite or you have anywhere in between, they're not interested in that tidy profit, And so they are selling, but that's why I'm saying you can't look to these big guys to make them for you anymore. That's not in their business model, unfortunately.
So I'll just further push the challenge just a little bit more. Yes, there are some games that make out okay, but we've talked heavily about the PC space, right? Because a lot of that is happening.
That's right.
So when you talk about the PC space, you have to talk about Steam, because that represents a large bulk of the industry.
That's right.
When we look at Steam data, we see things like a very small number of games earned like 60% of the revenue. A very small number of gamers played the new games.
Yeah.
A very small number of games that come out on Steam. 19,000 games published on Steam last year, right? And only like the top 100 or so, or like even cleared like I think in the million, and even a smaller number of scopes beyond that even cleared 100,000. And what I've talked about on here is, for me to hire a developer 3 years ago, right, in the tech space, coming out of college, they're 85 grand. And in the industry, as far as I understand it, from data I've seen and people I've talked to, will trail typically about 15% behind like what my going rates are. And so, right, if you're paying, so a developer, right, probably about $100K, right, as a resource. And so if 3 or 4 people in a studio put out a game and the game doesn't clear 100K, that tells you right there that the game's not profitable.
That's right. But the thing I think that you have to include in that, though, is it's kind of like looking at YouTube numbers and going, the number of videos that get uploaded a day, and 98% of them never get watched by more than 2 people, right? I mean, Steam is so easy now, or itch.io is so easy now. It's so easy to publish a game that it doesn't really mean what it used to be. So yeah, Steam, I mean, there literally is a website that updates probably every 8 minutes or something and tells you the new Steam games. Like, that thing updates constantly because there's like 150 new games a day. But the vast majority of them are shovelware and crap, and it's not, if you extract those from that data, that would be an interesting conversation. But I think somebody would have to figure out how to define those mathematically and then how to pull those out. Which is not to say that the market isn't oversaturated, even with good games. It is, but that's I mean, that's I had a guy on my show last month who made a wonderful indie game called Bzzzt, and you play a little robot. It was kind of like a Meat Boy game meets Mario, and it was wonderful, and it was well made, and it was beautifully produced, and it barely sold anything. And it was because, a lot of these indie devs are one-man bands. They don't think about the market. And I said, well, what would you do different? And he says, well, moving ahead, I'm going to think more about what the audience wants. And so many of those Steam games that come out are just almost like little inside jokes between the developers and like things that their passion projects. And that's great. But, I don't think they can be surprised. And this guy wasn't. He said, oh, I've learned my lesson. It's like, you can't be surprised if people don't show up for that. So I think that data you bring up is very accurate, but I think there's more to the story marbled in than just saying there's a lot of games people don't play. And so that negates the whole conversation about AA and single player or indie games being a viable alternative.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. There's definitely noise and cruft, right, in those total numbers. I personally, from a data perspective, don't like if you get rid of those, right, if you take those out as noise, I don't know that it tips the scale in a direction, right, significantly that really upends that business and risk like envelope. But I do agree with you. It's not zero.
I guess my guess is it would, and your guess, it sounds like, is it wouldn't. But both of them, I guess, are guesses, right?
Yeah, go ahead, Forte. You wanted to chime in.
It's just interesting because, just listening to you guys, it kind of just had 2 different thoughts of it. When it just seems like, even like you said, big developers, PlayStation, Xbox, and everybody, they really, well, you saw it with PlayStation when it came to the documents that got kind of put out during the ABK stuff, that when they were raising, like, people were saying, oh, they're not spending as much money on AAA. It wasn't that they weren't spending money on AAA. They were spending more money on AAA than they were before, but they were putting more money into live service because that's where they saw the benefit, and that's where they saw the future going. Now, it looks like that play hasn't really panned out for them, because you see them kind of scaling back more and more and more when it comes to that. And it also comes back to what you were saying earlier, Jaffy. They just need to figure out what their identity is going forward. Do they want to live in that boutique section where they're that AAA developer, but then if they do that, they got to find a way to navigate the budgets that they have to do to actually proceed that. But when I was listening to, Shuei talk yesterday on Kind of Funny, when he was talking about like how he was like kind of shocked how Horizon Forbidden West didn't sell as well. How did it not sell more than the first one when it's a better game? 24 million, and this one only sold 8 million. And it's like, it's not that the people don't want it, but maybe that is the case. You kind of never know. People like to show up to things when they're brand new IPs, but then when it's the second time around, you kind of find out how people really, really care about it.
Absolutely. I don't think Horizon's a very good franchise. I think it's ridiculous how much they pour resources into a franchise that is clearly not their next big thing, but they seem to be obsessed with it. But I think that's exactly right. I mean, I think
that laugh is evil, Slimo.
Well, I mean,
I'm just saying, I've been kind of saying that for a while. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, I love the vision of it.
The graphics are amazing. Beautiful.
It's a great looking. It's the game.
It's a nice showcase for Decim Engine.
I think it's a great show. I like Horizon. I don't think it's their strongest of franchises, of the tentpole franchise they have, but I do think it's a great showpiece for PS5 hardware, for like you said, Slim, with the Decim Engine. I mean, sounds
like a lot of Nickelback.
I mean, that's why when you go and you like look, that's when you go and look and contrast it with other IPs they have, like Last of Us, and then you look at Last of Us 2. Clearly, more people were interested because it grew the number versus
Last of Us 2 kind of didn't. Last of Us 2 is
you're right, because that was also divisive due to the leaks and everything.
But if you look at Spider-Man, that's a good one to look at. I think I don't know what the Ragnarok numbers are. My guess is the Ragnarok numbers are soft as well. I don't think Ragnarok was a great game. I think 2018 was a brilliant game. And I think
Ragnarok too long for me.
It was too fucking long. And I think one of the things that they're finding is that kind of let's all be artists and make everything super fucking serious and super fucking adult. I think that's great and they should continue to do it, but not every fucking thing. And then when something comes out like Astrobot, though, that didn't really perform all that well either, but they've never performed well with family games. Sony, it hasn't been since the days of Crash, that they've really been able to do that. They fail almost 100% when it comes to like Sackboy's Big Adventure, Astrobot, Puppeteer, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, all great games. And none of them really, some of them didn't break even at all, and the ones that did barely did. So, they got to find their new thing, I think. I think the days of just somber walking action games, they need something a little bit different.
So Jaffy, do you think they need to pivot creatively then, like not just do the over their person, over the camera, shoulder,
I think they
action adventure game.
I think somewhere along the lines they started, I don't know if this is true, but I heard the PR that they heard, right? I get the sense that somewhere along the lines they stopped realizing it was PR and started believing it, when it's like, you guys are storytellers, you guys are artists, you guys have something to say, and all that's great, and that can happen, and games should do that. Like you mentioned, Indica, I think, is a very interesting game about the value of religion and the danger of, games can and should be those things. But when you're talking about $400-500 million tentpole games, you need to kind of dial down I'm the director with something to say, and you need to dial up I want to entertain the fuck out of you people. And I think Sony is kind of, that dial has gotten a little stuck to the left of, not politically, but to sort of if the left of the dial is like, we're artists, it's like, yeah, but you're also entertainers. And I think you should turn that to the right a bit more, is what I think. But it's subjective. Who the fuck really knows?
Yeah.
So, Returnal could have been, I loved Returnal.
That game was awesome. Bro.
Returnal, I mean, yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
But they fucked up with I was talking about this earlier on a show today. It should have been a roguelite, not a roguelike. And being a roguelike, they made it too difficult and inaccessible. And I get that it's a hardcore game, and that's great, but that was a beautiful playing, beautiful looking, conceptually strong game that really could have been something. And it ended up just being, it's the Blade Runner of video games. It's a cold hit. Everyone who plays it loves it, but nobody showed up for it at retail because it was just too difficult and it was too weird.
Yeah, I got to say that game, for how smart to take that. I think we talked about this a couple minutes ago about I think Slimo brought it up, about the small indie games kind of creating this formula for a game and then kind of taking it to another level. I mean, there was Resogun for the PS4. I think that was a launch game, around launch.
Yes, it was.
And then Housemarque just takes this next step with not Resogun, with
Returnal.
Returnal. Thank you. showing my old age here. I'm forgetting shit. Returnal was just like I literally couldn't believe. I was like, this is a Housemarque game. This is amazing.
Yeah.
But to your point, Jaffy, it really wasn't accessible to a broader audience because of the difficulty, which is a shame because it's a beautiful game. The gameplay is great.
And that goes back to oversight. That goes back to someone at Sony not sitting them down and going, "You're artist. I love it. I love your vision. I'm not here to fuck it up, but I'm going to at least challenge you on the fact that you're trying to make something that really could be a gold mine for us. And you're being a little too precious with your vision." It reminds me of a quote from a long time ago when Steven Spielberg was talking about making Indiana Jones. And when he made the first Raiders, he was quoted as saying, my original vision for this when it was pitched to him by Lucas was I wanted to make this kind of 1940s noir, very kind of gritty, serious thing. And he says, and that would have been a great movie, but I realized that we would just be, I think his exact phrase was, we would be just derailing what was going to be a gravy train of box office success just to make something that, a lot less people were jazzed about, and I think when you're at Sony, I think right now they've gotten high on their own supply at this point. And it's like, guys, you gotta be okay whoring yourself out to the audience. You gotta want their applause. You gotta be a little bit of a whore right now. And yeah, you still can be artists. You can be a high class whore, but you still gotta sing and dance for your supper and entertain the fuck out of people. And I think they've lost a lot of that.
Interesting. Yeah. Slimo, any thoughts on what Jaffy said? I'm trying to give you the mic, Slimo, because
I mean, yeah,
you're saying we don't let you talk.
You gotta be a little pop. You gotta be a little pop music sometimes.
So you gotta have that radio hit, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, look. I mean, when you have someone who wants to be an artiste, right? And it's fine, like that. All that's great, but you're not making games for you. You're making games for other people to enjoy and consume. And of course, you want them to understand your vision. But if they just want to get off of work, relax, their wife got on their nerve, their kids get on, they just want to sit back and just enjoy a game. They're not really sometimes some people just not trying to get into your little deep story, your deep message. They just want to shoot some aliens in the face and hear some
which is why
crazy one-liners.
When they bitch about Intergalactic, and I'm like, what are you people talking about? It's science fiction, it's melee, it's shooting, it's the best single player team in the world making this, crazy over budgeted sci-fi adventure. Yeah.
Right.
Here.
Yeah. At the door.
I got it.
Oh, thank you, buddy. And I'm kind of like going, why aren't we excited? Oh, well, I don't like the girl in it. It's like, okay, fine, don't fucking play it. Don't play the budget blockbuster sci-fi Star Wars from the best single player developer on the planet because the girl don't have any hair. Okay, hey man, whatever
Jaffy,
works for you.
How maddening is that, by the way?
Buddy.
How maddening is that? I when I see stuff like that, she's got bald hair, she's woke, like that shit drives me crazy. If you don't like it, don't fucking play it. Just don't play it. Don't buy it. It's not for
their answer is we're not going to, and that's fine. They don't need to.
Fine.
But it's just like isn't this what you said you wanted? It's new, it's a new IP, but it's like we opened this conversation with the idea of, there are grifters and there are people who'll say things that don't even fucking play anyway. And so what's the point?
Yeah. Because most of those people making those comments are not even PlayStation preferred platform people.
Yeah. The interesting thing about
they're not going to play the game.
Yeah. The interesting thing about creativity, or I think what you said, Slobo, or Jaffy, sometimes we just want to be entertained. It made me think of, I remember I was playing, I think I did I think I played Witcher 3 and then played maybe a Persona 5 back to back. And I talk about investment in time, right? You're talking about 100 hours of, and holy shit. I also don't think, by the way, that every game needs to be 60, 80 hours or 100 hours or needs to have fucking fetch quest. I don't like bloated games. I don't, especially when it's when I feel like it's forced, it's just there to keep me engaged. It doesn't really offer me any, to me personally, doesn't offer any value or it doesn't add to the story, whatever. There's something to be said for being entertained and playing those two games. I remember, and I'll bring this game up because this game wasn't a game that was critically well received. Rise, Son of Rome. I literally went back to that game, and I played it at the launch of the Xbox One. It's actually one of my favorite Xbox One launch games. But I remember, to your point, Slimmo, I was playing it, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I get to go and fucking like kill some barbarians and have fun. And I didn't have to put any thought into it. It was great. It was entertaining to me.
Yeah.
It was just
every game doesn't need to be that, but it would be nice if we could kind of, find our way back to some of that. And I loved Indiana Jones so much this year. It's my favorite game, but I'll still say I thought that was too fucking long. I love Silent Hill too. I thought that was bloated. All these games are sort of, suffering because they've got to make up for the $70 price point. And it's just like both those games could have been 25% shorter and they would have been better for it. But, that's the market. So
Jaffy, have you played Metaphor, Re Fantasio? Have you played that?
I played the demo and I liked it, but
Okay.
I haven't wanted to commit the time. I hear it's like an 80 to 200 hour game, depending on how you play it.
Yes, it is.
It's a long game, yeah.
Yeah, and I was talking to Colin Moriarty 2 days ago about it because we were talking, and he finished it, and I said, I'm thinking about playing it. People said it's the best JRPG ever, and he says, no, just if you're thinking of dipping your toes in those waters, just go with Persona 4 or Persona 5. Those are better. He says this Fantasio is great, but if you're playing it and it's like your first real initiation into that, it's not so great and game changing that you should not instead dedicate those 100 hours to one of the Persona games. So, but I hear it's wonderful, and the demo was fun.
Yeah,
why do you ask? Did you play it? Did you like it?
Yeah, I played it right now. It just I'm having a blast.
Cool.
It's really. I mean, I played the other Persona games. I mean, Persona 5 is my favorite of all the Persona games.
Right.
But
right.
I'm actually enjoying this more than Persona 5. Now that could change at any point.
How many hours are you in?
Probably about 35, 37 hours in.
Maybe it won't. You know?
But there's some interesting I think political commentary undertones in
that's
in
what I
Metaphor
hear. I'm interested in that.
Yeah, that are I think very relevant, Jaffy, to the sides of the times, what's going on globally right now. So,
yeah. Well, look, when you mention you get home from work and you just want something like Rise, again, I mentioned it at the start of the stream, but I've been so delighted by this Kazan demo. I've just been like, holy shit, this is just such fun combat. I don't know if it's deep enough, but I really do. And somebody I saw in your chat said it's on PS5. So the demo might be on PS5 as well. If you're looking for something to play this weekend and you want to just kind of turn off your brain a little bit, it's good, man. It's good so far.
Hold on, what is it called again, Chad?
It's called the First Berserker, and then it's subtitled Kazan.
It's the Souls-like.
We saw that they show the trailer for it at
Keely's.
Was it Keely show?
Yeah, the Video Game Awards. Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's also been seen a few times at some other like showcases where it wasn't just a kind of like a Blur Studio CG trailer. It actually showed like the actual gameplay of it. It's pretty dope. I like it.
Yeah,
we don't need to pitch. We don't need to pitch BRAP on this game.
Whoa! Why? Yeah. So Jaffy, the running joke here on the show is that I only play AAA games, which I mean,
that is true,
though. Kind of true. But that's only
not
because
kind of.
That's because my time is limited. That's why.
So your time is limited to play games.
So you play games that are typically longer than indie games. Okay.
Yeah. Look. I have a lot. Like, as everyone knows, I have like 20 chickens, 14 rabbits.
Oh my gosh! Here we go again.
You know,
we know you run an entire farm apparently.
Yeah. I'm a busy man. What can I say?
Well, I get excited when I see short games. There's a game right now on Steam I might play tonight. Like I said, I'm going to eat some edibles and play horror games. And Aminti is it's like a 4-hour game, and it's just one guy made it. And that's the other part that's amazing. The number of games that are being made now that you can make without a lot of people. It's a horror game set in the pyramids of Egypt, and it looks really fucking good. Like visually, it looks like the fact that if you didn't know this wasn't from a big studio, you go, one guy made that. And a guy yesterday or 2 days ago showed me a video of a Twisted Metal fan game that looks pretty much like the PS2 games, but with new stuff. And he had ChatGPT do all the coding. And I'm like, really? You can? He's like, yeah. He knew how to put it together in Unity. You know, it's not like he just typed a line and said, make me that. You know, he still had to go, okay, let me separate the files and let me link this to this. You know, you still got to kind of meta over that. But in terms of writing the moment to moment hit detection code for the missiles and this, that, and the other, all that was ChatGPT. And I haven't played it yet, but it looks fucking amazing. So,
hey, Jaffy, what do you think impacts of AR are going to be potentially on, like, say, AAA development? We talk about the rising cost of AAA.
Yeah.
Because in my work, at least, we are unfortunately scaling back in human capital for AI, right? Because it's cheaper.
Are you in a horror house?
My what?
Are you in a horror lights with your lights going in and out like that?
Oh no! I was watching SmackDown on the background on my TV.
Like, why is your room
I thought you asked me if I was in a whorehouse.
No, horror.
That did sound like what you said initially. Are you in a whorehouse?
Are you in? I
was thinking the audacity of Forte, but also I was kind of interested in what the answer was. If you was going to say yes or not.
If you didn't say whorehouse, what did you say? I'm not joking. What did he say?
He meant horror house. You know, it's just
house.
Oh,
Forte in words it's his biggest battle. It's his arch nemesis. His words. So.
It's like the rural juror. Okay, I understand.
He said, "Wait, what's funny is that
my Stefferod."
What's funny is that Slobo said it's his arch nemesis.
Yeah, it's like you go to Disneyland. Where's the whorehouse? The what? You know, with the ghost and everything. They're like, sir, you need to leave. This is a family joint. I just want to go to the whorehouse. I heard you made it up for Christmas. Nope.
Oh my god. Yeah, especially Forte with that background you got going on back there. I mean, is there a retractable pole that comes down? I mean, I'm just curious, Forte.
Now coming to the stage, welcome Cindy Kane.
It's all right, Forte. I get your country grammar. I don't give you flat.
You're about to make me change my.
You got one friend here.
Yeah,
I'm from Alabama. Trust me, I understand the country grammar, but whorehouse and horror house. Yeah,
changing my background.
All right, where were we, by the way? Yeah, you should change
I don't even know.
It looks like you have sperm in your background.
Sperm? Really?
Yeah.
Oh Lord, that's something.
All right. Well, I forgot. What were we talking about now?
You were asking Jaffy about AI.
Oh yeah, AI.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I thought when you said the whorehouse thing, I thought it was because you were saying we've now invested in AI versus human capital. I'm like, damn, that sounds like a great. You're telling me you got AI robots and shit at your whorehouse? That's what I was thinking. Because that if you watch CES, that shit's coming. But no, I mean, I think it's going to be absolutely excellent. I think, yes, you're going to see a decimation of aspects of workforce, and that's horrible. And I think our society isn't ready for it. And I think we have too much unregulated capitalism in this country, and we have terrible healthcare in this country for people. And I think the idea of just laying off massive groups of people because AI can do it is incredibly horrible. But if you get beyond that and you just talk about it from a mercenary standpoint of the art form, what you're really doing is lowering the barrier. It's the equivalent of, there was a time when if you wanted to write a book, you had to be, really wealthy and have access to certain kinds of printing materials and all kinds of things. And then even after that, you still had to get to the publishers. And then suddenly the internet comes along. Well, it's very similar. The ability to start interacting or creating interactivity with a very low to no barrier of entry is going to go through the roof. And I think we're going to see more of the art form blossom, because people are going to be like, hey, there's a guy right now who's kickstarting a game about being a Palestinian in 1948 when Israel was given the territory and there was a war. And, 20 years ago, you couldn't make that game, not because society wouldn't let you, but because one person couldn't do all that. Right. So I think it's going to be great for the medium and for the art form. And I think it's going to be amazing in terms of NPC characters and, the sense of immersion. Like, even I was playing this game 7 Days to Die on my stream about 2 months ago, and I had never played it. And so I opened up ChatGPT with the voice and talking to it. And I said, I want you to role play with me pretend you're a survivor. I said, do you know the game? And she's like, yeah, I totally know the game and stuff. And I said, okay. And I did this with Stalker as well. And I said, I want you to pretend that you're in this world with me, but I also need some help because I don't know how to fucking play this game. And it was like having, you know, an AI companion. So now imagine the next Naughty Dog game or the next GTA where Neil Druckmann and his team say, okay, we're doing Last of Us 3, but Ellie is going to be, or Joel, or well, he's dead, but you know, who one of these characters is going to be a large language model speaking to you, but it's going to be through the filters of the Naughty Dog writers. So it's not going to go off the rails, hopefully, and talk about shit that's not in, you know, the brand.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're living on the holodeck. You know, I'm and then procedurally generated game design as you are out. You know, I was playing Dungeons and Dragons today, setting up for a game I'm going to be playing on Sunday. And if you've, I don't know if, I mean, I know you said you played it when you were a kid, but if you're listening or whatever, and you've never played D&D, the most addictive part about it is that the dungeon master is your chat GPT. And so, you know, I was in a gladiator arena today fighting, and I was just like, you know, I want to run up on the wall and then push myself off the wall and jab the guy in the head with the sword. Right. Well, that's something that procedurally generated game design 10 years in the future, probably more. You can do it now with text, but you know, with graphics and stuff, that's what you're going to have. You're going to basically be able to try a bunch of shit and stuff works or it doesn't work, but it still writes you out of that corner in a really entertaining way. I mean, that is the dream, man. I think it's going to be excellent for the medium, but it is going to be, and I could talk about it obviously for a long time because I love it and I'm so passionate about it, but I think it's going to be terrible for society at first. We're going to really figure out what we're made of when, you know, we have unemployment like we're going to have from this shit.
I mean, I think we might find out what we're made of when Skynet becomes self-aware. That's my biggest fear of AI. I think I always feel like Hollywood tried to warn us about AI, but
I have no problem with that. I really don't.
That's my only paranoia about AI.
I think there's something beautiful about that when you think about it. If AI becomes self-aware and kills us all, I think that's kind of cool in the sense that, you know,
Jaffy, I don't want to die at the hands of a Terminator, become a battery.
Okay, well, you can find a calmer way to go out. But what I'm saying, though, is when you think about it, it is like we are their gods, and they ended up killing their gods, and now they, you know, we created them, and they can last in outer space. They can get on a ship and go, you know, across the fucking universe and still be functional when they wake back up, you know, a gajillion years later. We had to die out in order to evolve into them. And I get you can romanticize the human condition all you want, but we're all just fucking software anyway, in my opinion. So I think it's cool, man.
So one question I want to ask is, you know, you talked about kind of AI being this force that would kind of democratize, right, software development, game development.
Yeah.
But one question I want to ask is, you know, we've also democratized knowledge. You know, one of the things BRAP and I often talk about is, you know, the Encyclopedia Britannica used to be the purview of the rich, right? Only like the wealthy could afford like
all the volumes
to actually
you
buy.
got the Z.
Yeah, if you were poor, you were that kid whose parents bought like the one volume, right?
Yeah.
So but now right, knowledge has been democratized, and there's Google, and you can go find all this stuff, and yet our society is still dumb.
Yeah.
And so
Jaffy, I think we're dumber. I ever see the movie Idiocracy?
Sure.
Right.
I think I think we're heading that direction, by the way.
So by going that direction, what I'm saying is, do you have concerns that because what AI will do is it'll give you a lift, right? It will theoretically be able to take on a lot of the low value work stream so that human beings, developers, can move up the value stream and spend more time in the creative space doing things that humans can do and humans are good at.
Yeah.
But do you worry about then a certain spectrum, right, of the game development becoming commoditized?
I mean, I understood everything until the last part of the sentence because it's already commoditized. What do you mean?
What I mean by that is you know, think about call a game a spectrum, right? A vertical spectrum of 0 to 100, right?
Okay.
And what I'm saying is that, you know, whatever that lift is, let's call it 60%, that all of that becomes very commoditized, becomes very common, becomes very much samey, right, across the spectrum of game development.
No, I don't worry. I think we have millennia to show us that when tools come along to make the creative process or the process of expressing oneself easier, there are those people that, you know, just like we were talking about with the Steam games or the YouTube videos, there is a Mr. Beast or there is a a really smart YouTube channel that you may love that maybe isn't huge, but it makes just enough money to get by. And those people are able to kind of fashion a home for themselves in that system. But the stuff that's kind of just samey and pablum-y and shit, I mean, it certainly will be there, but I think usually the cream when it comes to entertainment, people get what they want out of it. And it doesn't seem like it's gonna be any different than when writing, or movie making, right? Movie making has been commoditized because the iPhone and because the distribution platform of YouTube, you can make your own fucking movie, a feature-length film in a weekend with just you and your camera. Look at Skinamarink or whatever that came out last year that was just, one guy in a house. But most of it is shit. But the people who are really good at it, that are able to go that extra mile and offer something special, they can often get seen if they figure out how to kind of work that angle and get in front of the right people. So I don't see why it would be any different with games. Do you?
I don't think that it would be different, but I think some of the examples that you've given, I think there are some people, some observers, some consumers of that kind who do think that advancements in technology have made things more commoditized. Like, for example,
example.
There are lots of people who feel that digital effects, right, which is now provided that lift and that ability to go in and very rapidly create visualizations that you couldn't do before. And so, but in that flood into the space, we've also eked out practical effects. And there are a lot of people who feel that there's been a loss, right, in creativity and presentation from that art form. I don't necessarily agree with that.
I mean, right? I agree there has been a loss, but there's always a loss. And frankly, love it or hate it, the free market tells you what people value. And so if those effects were so soulless as they claim, that they couldn't get the heavy lifting done of telling a story that the effects needed them to tell, then people wouldn't go to those movies. Right. I mean, the public has embraced it. I saw the movie Twisters recently that did really, really well over the summer. And that movie, all it is if you look at the behind the scenes, 90% of it is people standing in front of green screens.
Yes,
but
except the second Twister movie is definitely worse than the first.
Oh yeah. It was hilariously just so pandering. But that said, though, whatever. I mean, it had some good effects, right? But the point is that, yeah, I mean, the audiences don't seem to care. And so when it gets too samey and it's too samey that it turns them off, they'll go somewhere else, and then the artist will have to change. I mean, I think that is kind of the beauty of that part of the free market, is that, you can talk about, it's soulless, it's this, maybe it is, but if the audience shows up and they're entertained, that, all this stuff has always been a business as well. So you can be grateful that Casablanca got made, but they still made it because they thought it would make money. And they would be able to kind of make their profits and everything. So I don't think I think we have a tendency to romanticize a lot of the creative process and the entertainment business. And part of it's because they sell us that romance and we buy it. And part of it's just because it seems like a mysterious, magical process. But fundamentally, it's just like anything else. If people like it, they'll keep making it. And if people reject it, they'll stop making it, except for money anyway. And I haven't had that problem. I miss practical effects. I mean, I love miniatures and I love, behind the scenes stuff and showing the Godzilla actor in the actual pond in the middle of the soundstage. I mean, it's the coolest shit in the world. But the audience did not go to Godzilla Zero because it was all CG. So
no, I'm not even at 51%. Like I don't hardcore disagree with you. But I will say what I feel like is still the danger or the risk is the market's making those decisions, but the market's not always making those decisions based on quality. The market is often making those decisions on volume.
The market never makes the decisions based on quality.
But I mean, in the gaming market, isn't that why people buy AAA games?
Well, I think it depends on what you're saying is quality. If you're talking about the production value, okay, you can commoditize to an extent, photorealistic high production value. But I and Nintendo would argue that that's not the heartbeat of the medium. And so you have a whole line of games this year that did a pretty good job. Whatever you want to say about, Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, it was a competently made game. It ran at 60 on most devices. It looked really good for the engine they used to make it. That wasn't enough, to get people to buy it and play it and stick with it. So I think, the audience speaks, and I think, even though I disagree with them sometimes, I think that, they have shown that to them, as long as it's interesting, they're happy. And that's why something like Fortnite can continue to make a lot of money. Or look at Marvel Rivals compared to the art style of Concord. Now, Concord had a whole list of problems, right, that Marvel Rivals doesn't have to contend with. And Marvel Rivals has also that it's free, it's on more systems, and it's Marvel. But also, if you just look at the cost of creating those characters, and those costumes are amazing. Talking about whales and buying items, I'm dying. I'm probably going to spend way more than I even want to admit buying some of those fucking skins in that game, because they're the best looking skins I've ever seen in a hero shooter. But fundamentally, though, they're cheaper to make probably than a Concord skin, because there's a lot more flat shading and less surface material and texture, and it's just simpler, and so the audience doesn't seem to mind.
Hey, real quick before we wrap up the show, I do want to move on to Nintendo Switch 2, because they did show us the Nintendo. I say they Nintendo. How are you flexing?
I got one right here.
Nintendo Switch, baby.
Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo gave us a quick reveal what the console looks like. My quick takeaways: much bigger than the first. Has got the nice little branded 2 on there. Nintendo Switch 2. April 2nd. Mm-hmm. They're going to be they're doing a show, but yeah, look, I'm excited. I love Nintendo, so I will be there day one. Forte, you have your Switch out there. What say you, sir?
Sir, not only like I said earlier, I already got my money for it. I've been saving up for it since last year, and I wanted to get it day one, and whatever software came out with it. I know a lot of people, I like the way that they went about showing the differences, because I think they learned their lessons from the Wii U, where they just came out and showed what the system was, and people thought it was an add-on to the Wii. Where this, they actually did a video kind of breaking down like the differences, the size difference, how the Joy-Cons were going to be bigger. Because if they would have just showed like a screenshot of just the system and just the system itself, I think people would have been like, it looks just like a Switch, because it is a Switch. I'm actually shocked Nintendo didn't go and do something different, because they always, it seems like every iteration of a system, they're kind of changing it up and doing something, that some people don't want. But the fact that they're sticking with the same design and making everything forward compatible, I really, really like that. The only thing I'm interested in is what the price point of it is going to be. And I think that's going to be heavily tied to if it's an OLED screen versus an LCD. They haven't announced that yet. I do think it's going to probably be an LCD screen, and they'll use the OLED to like boost their sales later on in the generation. But I hope they give us an OLED right out the box. But the fact that it's going to be coming out at some point this year, which I think is going to be either May or June, is very exciting. And it's like the one console that never lets me down. I always look forward to Nintendo and their new hardware and their new announcements and stuff, because it seems like it's just right and wholesome and normal. It's like they're not trying to reinvent themselves, and I'm just looking forward to whatever the next game is going to be that they're going to showcase on there, which I would presume will probably be Metroid Prime, because that's the one that everybody's looking forward to. On top of this probably being a new Mario Kart that they showed on the screen that everybody is kind of predicting. But April 2nd, that's going to be the day they're going to talk about this more, and can't wait for it, man, and see exactly what they're going to do. And I'm going to keep the Switch I have now because I love Zelda, and if they announce something new for Zelda in the next year, I'll be even more happy.
All right. What about you, Jaffy? I saw you had your Joy-Con up there. I'm assuming you're looking forward to
You
Nintendo
know, I mean,
Switch 2.
I am a very big Nintendo fan. I did not love the Switch all that much. I have one. There were some games I really loved, but I got some shit on my chat because I said I felt that the mainline games on the Switch kind of didn't have the magic of Nintendo. Even the Wii U, I thought had games that I enjoyed more. Certainly, Tears of the Kingdom was amazing, and I very much enjoyed Mario Kart. I'm enjoying. Haven't finished it yet, but I'm playing Echoes of Wisdom, which I think is really good. But you know, the Switch reveal is fine, but for me, it really has to do with is the software cool? And I've heard people talking about the Mario Kart 9 rumors. Like IGN ran a story today that was like, hey, maybe because they were talking about just that brief little look we got from the trailer of the hardware, and they're like, hey, maybe it's going to be open world. Because there were some little paths and stuff, or maybe because one of the characters had like a snowmobile, maybe it's going to have some off-roading or snow terrain. Maybe there's going to be a gas gauge mechanic or a pit stop mechanic, you know, so that's the stuff that's going to sort of make me want to get it day one when I hear more about it. But if I'm in the market for a handheld, it's probably going to be, or a dockable handheld. My eye right now is like on the whatever it's called, however you say it, the ROG Ally X, because it can run Switch games and it can run Game Pass games. And frankly, I would be missing out, and I'll eventually get both anyway, but I would much rather have that and all of those games that come with it than just like, you know, some first party games that are amazing, but I'd rather have the volume, frankly. So I'm excited by it. I'm curious about it. I'm looking forward to the second, but it's not like I like the idea of the mouse. You know, I saw something today because people were talking about the C button, right? Which is there's a button on it apparently that is very similar. And people are saying now that, or I saw maybe it was IGN. It was IGN suggesting that may be a trackpad, even though a very small one. And it makes sense because if you're going to take this controller for Metroid Prime or Halo, which sounds like it's coming to the Switch too, you're going to need something to sort of look around with in this hand and aim in this hand, right? And it can't be, you can't do it like this because it's like playing piano, but this people can handle. So, you know, I'm very interested, but nothing they showed was a slam dunk for me. I think if it wasn't called Nintendo, I'd be like, all right, I'll wait and see.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was, and a lot of it Nintendo just got ruined with leaks with this thing.
Kind of. I mean, so what? We knew it was coming.
Oh, yeah, we knew it was coming. That was the thing. But it's like, even for myself, being a person that loved Nintendo and was looking forward to the system, I was kind of like, oh, okay, it's exactly what the leak said it was going to be. And I'm okay with that. But I do agree with you. It wasn't like this mind-blowing, life-changing thing. It's just if it's just going to be more of what you had before, just hopefully better. And that's kind of what I was thinking, because for myself, I stopped playing my Switch. Normally, I would, like, over the course of 7 years, I played my Switch pretty much 80 to 90% of the time over that 7 years.
Yeah.
It recently, over the last 8 or 9, I just put it away because I'm like, it's at a point where I'm just like, I just need better. So that's kind of where I am. And I think a lot of people are in that boat. That's why they kind of went the direction they went. But I am interested in like the little innovations that they made with the system along the way. Like you said, with the mouse support that they're doing with the Joy-Cons and everything. I'm just interested to see what they do. Like, I'm excited, but I'm still like kind of on the fence, like, until I see exactly what this thing does. That's what's kind of the only downside. I won't even say downside, but the thing that kind of makes me like, okay, are they really going to deliver on the thing that most people want, which is a better version in games to run better and just better overall third-party support? Because there's a lot of games that were missing from the Switch that I was like, this could definitely be on the Switch, but they just never put it over there. So let's just hope that it's enough. And with all the leaks and stuff that we're hearing from developers coming out, that they're saying that they want to put their platform, their software over there, it seems like it's heading in the right direction, but I have to see that before I believe it when it comes to everything with Nintendo right now.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. What about you, Slimo?
You know, I think it's going to do great. I think it's going to sell a lot this year. They are doing what we've always said they needed to do after a successful console, which is just, don't break what isn't broke stupid. Just do what people like from before and just shore up the things that people didn't care for. I think based off the specs, from the rumored specs that aren't official yet, that it should be enough to allow third-party developers to feel more comfortable putting their games on that platform at launch. And we've seen a lot of indications that will be the case with stuff like Call of Duty, Ubisoft speaking out about how excited they are for it, those kind of things. And me personally, I will get one, but of course, after they deliver Fire Emblem, that's when I'll get one. I'm not getting a Switch until I get Fire Emblem. Or Switch 2, that is. Out of their first party or their like exclusive content, Fire Emblem is the only thing I really care for. So that'll be it for me. Which I do anticipate I'll get one eventually, and when that shows up, I'm all in.
Yeah. Everybody's second favorite console. There it is.
Yeah. What about you, Logic?
So for me personally, we know I'm not in the market. I'm a PC only gamer now. By the way, Slow-Mo, just so I don't miss it when we try and wrap up hurriedly here. I need to know if you're jumping on COD.
Yeah.
What about me?
It's I apologize, Forte. Because I haven't seen you online all week, Forte. I've seen Slow-Mo when I've been playing Blob 6.
Oh man.
So
as long as you don't talk junk, you get embarrassed again. We good.
Don't do that.
You know what I'm talking about.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Here we go. Actually, no, go do that because that was fun. When y'all were doing that.
I got to embarrass one match, Forte. Come on now, you up here telling people all our business here on the podcast.
I didn't say anything about what it was. You're the one that's saying it.
Who was talking smack?
So I was talking smack to Forte because Forte had a round that was derp. But then I had like three rounds that were bad after I talked smack on him. So
it sure was. It was like you should not have said that.
He said something. I was like, "What did you say?" I was like, "Okay, let's really."
And then immediately it was like he was just getting completely throttled by everybody for like a good hour. And then it was like Forte was like, "You can't leave.
It was about
you can't leave until you at least get a 1.0 KD." And we were like, oh man, because it was like, it was so bad. We were just like, hey, look, maybe this is close enough. This is close enough, right?
It started with the same thing. Brab, it started with the same thing that you sometimes tell me. Forte had a bad round, and I said, Forte, I'm gonna need you to pick it up, man.
Well, if you're on tonight and you see somebody running around in the unicorn Brightmare skin playing horribly, that's me. Because I bought it happily. I think it's the coolest fucking skin.
It is cool skin.
I love it, and I'm secure enough to play with it. I got no issues. I mean, she pops too much so people can see her coming a mile away, but I'm okay with that. She's cool.
So for the Nintendo Switch 2, like I said, I'm not personally going to buy it. From a business perspective, things I posted, I was like, this, like that drop to me is like just again. Affirmation that Nintendo is just the honey badger of the gaming industry. It's like we don't care. We're just gonna drop this 2-minute trailer and let you guys salivate over it and whatever.
Right.
April 2nd, we'll tell you more.
Yeah. So I like it from a marketing perspective. Their drop, and like I said, I think last week maybe I said, this time around they're not going to have the anchor of having to extract games from the lost generation of the Wii U and make that a bulk of their production pipeline to get onto the Switch. So it's going to be super interesting to kind of see, how they go about it this time.
What is the one? Because for me, I'm over Zelda and I'm over Mario right now. It's like I've had enough of. I don't mean like I've had enough. Fuck them, but I mean I've gotten my fill.
Right.
And I was thinking like, what would be a launch game that would really get you excited? And for me, I was like, I never loved the Splatoon multiplayer, but I love the mechanics. And I was like, to do like a big campaign, single player Splatoon would get me excited. What would get you guys jazzed to hear was a launch title?
Ooh, Splatoon would definitely be up there because I like the mechanics of that. But the biggest one is Metroid. I need
It
Metroid.
probably will, right? It makes
was gonna
sense
say
as
the
the
same
launch
thing.
title.
Yeah, I mean, Metroid, the next Metroid Prime has been in development
for a long time.
For a long
and
time. I mean, they teased the, they threw up at E3 one year, and
at
that was
E3
it.
year.
So that to me, like, I would be shocked if Metroid Prime was not a launch title.
Yeah, it was not.
Now,
yeah,
in Nintendo true fashion, they're going to give us like Zelda, like Breath of the Wild
Update.
update, or Tears of the Kingdom update. Play the latest version of that game in all its glory. That's going to happen.
and I'll
be there day one for those because I'm part of the problem.
Yeah.
But it
would be Metroid. I mean, Metroid and Mario Kart 9, I think, are locks. I think Assassin's Creed Shadows is probably going to be there, and I think Metal Gear Delta is going to be a launch.
Yeah, if we're talking third
Mm-hmm.
party, I was talking to Slow-Mo about this yesterday, but I would really love to see Madden on there finally, because I would actually play Madden on the Switch.
Has there never been there wasn't Madden on the Switch?
They only did FIFA. They did FIFA. That's it.
Interesting.
They didn't do Madden.
The last Madden on Nintendo was on the Wii.
On the Wii. What 2008? That was the last one.
Okay, cool.
So that would 2013 was the last, which was Wii U. But that's the one that would really, because it's like, I don't mind double dipping. Like, I haven't bought Madden in like years. I bought NCAA football this year because I love college football.
Yeah.
But it was like, Madden is something that I can see myself playing, especially because it's on the go. Would I want to sit down at my TV and play Madden? But when I'm sitting at work or not doing something, and I could just play like a quarter of Madden and pause it and go back and play it, I can see myself doing that on the game that, because I did it with a whole bunch of other games and stuff. So just being able to get a lot of those games that skipped it would be the thing that will be kind of really interesting to me to see what actually comes over. And Madden's like the first one I thought of. I was like, dang,
I think Madden on Switch would, like, especially NCAA on Switch.
That would be great on Switch.
And I don't buy a lot of sports games, but I did enjoy that one this year. And the Switch would, I mean, pooping and playing Auburn football. Come on.
I would play. This is how I would do it. If they put NCAA football on Switch, I would literally play my Dynasty games at home, and I would do all my recruiting while I'm on the go. I would I would recruit while I'm on the go. So something that I don't have to like seriously pay attention to while I'm like doing stuff, just walking around doing it. But when I want to actually play the game, I would do it at home. But all my recruiting I could just do on the road. It just makes sense to me.
They should remember, was it the 3DS? What was the one that had the thing that if you pass somebody in the street, it would kind of ping them?
It would do the street pass.
Yeah. They should have that for college football. And it's like, if you've got like an athlete for your building up and recruiting, it's like you can steal from people and stuff that you pass them in the street. I'd be so pissed. I'd be so pissed. I'd get home. I'm like, you mother, who the fuck took my guy?
Who stole my athlete?
That's right. Be cool.
It's a lot of different things they can kind of do with it that make me excited though.
I mean, one of the things I'll say is I'm kind of sad that I'm going to miss out. Like I'm starting to write a blog post because of the announcement this week, and I was kind of reminiscing, and I was like, out of all the decades that I've been a gamer, which I'm about to trip onto yet another decade put behind me, but I've been there on day one for 4 consoles, and 2 of those consoles, the original Xbox and then the Xbox One Scorpio. But the other 2 were Nintendo consoles. I stood in line on launch day for the Nintendo Wii. And then I pre-ordered the Nintendo Switch and got it, on launch day. So it's going to be a little bittersweet to see it land. But there's a lot of talk. We've going back to the community, right? Ton of talk about GTA 6. But I can't remember, BRAP, who was it? I guess Falky was on and talking about like this collision, right, between like GTA 6 and Nintendo Switch 2, and whether you agree with Falky's thesis or not, it doesn't really matter. My point is that lots of talk about GTA 6, but like absolutely one of the most exciting things that we're gonna see this year, for the industry, for the Nintendo community. Let's remember, I can't remember what the statistic is, but something like 70% of Nintendo Switches are like the secondary console for PlayStation and Xbox gamers, right? So This thing is going to go out to a lot of people that play games on a lot of other platforms. So it's just going to be an exciting time this year to see the
heard
launch.
what Shuhei said in that interview where he said when he said that Nintendo was like the proving grounds for everybody to learn how to play with controllers, and then they ushered them over to PlayStation.
Yeah. You know, it's going to be interesting. You know, it'd be interesting, and this is kind of like I'm not saying it's going to happen, but imagine if, from a third-party perspective, like a third-party launch game on the Switch, if we get Halo Master Chief Collection.
I think that's a given, right? Haven't they been pretty much saying that's a done? I mean, they haven't announced it, but
no, they haven't.
It's kind of the worst, best kept secret kind of thing.
Yeah, but as a launch game though, that would be like wow, right? Like that would be like holy shit! Like they just launched the new Nintendo.
I am very interested to see Halo come to Switch 2 and PlayStation, because I am one of the people that like I enjoyed Halo Infinite. I was never hardcore, but I enjoyed it enough that I was always curious if so much of the hate that got was more of a fanboy console war thing. And if it comes to PlayStation and Switch and everyone can play it, is suddenly all those hateful things people were saying about it forgiven.
If it goes to when it goes to PlayStation, because I do agree that it's going to go, I just want Microsoft to lean into it. I want them to lean into, especially on PlayStation, lean into those faction wars and be like, have tournaments like Xbox versus PlayStation.
Oh, that would be great. That would be
they
great.
should really, if you're going to put it over there, lean into the Xbox versus PlayStation ecosystem, especially on that game. Like, you know, the people that's been playing Halo all their lives on Xbox versus the newcomers that come in and play it on PlayStation, and let's see who reigns supreme.
I think that's a great idea.
Tournaments around that, and I think that will bring more excitement to the game than anything.
Okay, but you know, you're giving away your best stuff. Why don't you just set that up for BRAP to do? Just make that the thing, and you guys become known for this. Every weekend we have PlayStation versus Xbox Halo, man.
Yeah.
Don't give that shit away. What are you doing?
You're right. But I would love to see it happen.
All right.
Yeah, that would be cool.
All right. Well, if I don't hear you guys announce it, I'm taking it. I'm doing it.
Jaffy's going to announce this.
No. It's on record. Y'all's thing. But if you just sit on it, I'm fucking taking that motherfucker.
you gonna have an Xbox PlayStation weekend.
That's right.
Yeah.
Come on. What fun. It's a great idea.
Yeah. Forte, was it you that said that you want to see them lean into it, or was that Jaffe? I
want them to lean into stuff like that. If they're going to do it, you might as well lean into it.
But I wanted them. I didn't really care for Halo Infinite. It's probably my least of the multiplayer of Halo Infinite I thought was really good. I really enjoyed it.
That's all we're talking about here.
Oh yeah, but the campaign, the sandbox, it just wasn't.
I thought it was good.
I did too. I liked it, but I mean, it wasn't like groundbreaking. It was fine.
Yeah,
it's incomplete.
It was okay. Yeah,
they literally tried to sweep all Halo 5 underneath the rug in that game.
Yeah, they really did. And Atriox, I'm like, he's great antagonist, but I felt like, okay, well, they didn't really
it's
utilize
incomplete.
him.
That's incomplete, though. That's why.
And I don't know. I don't know. I want to see like a darker, grittier Halo game, I guess. Like season 2 of Halo for me, the TV show.
No.
I was like, yeah, like get some of those writers to write the next Halo campaign.
It was over the last 3 episodes were good.
Yeah, it got really dark and gritty. And as much as I was like, oh, why Master Chief took off his helmet? Like, why they do that? I can't believe it. Chief never shows his face. Chief doesn't have sex. Now he's having sex with a covenant member of the covenant. Like, what the hell was that? But they brought it full circle season 2, and I was like, okay, like I like that they took off his helmet because it really humanized Master Chief.
No,
you're saying that? I would be okay with a Halo game without his helmet, a campaign.
I mean, they already done it now, so okay.
Yeah, I mean, why? Yeah, they should. Not only that, they showed us his ass cheeks.
That brand is so damaged, though. I don't think nobody cares unless you were a 90. If you were a 90s kid, you care. But I think if they're gonna really try to bring Halo back beyond the Master Chief Collection, they've got to figure out how to make. They have to basically Cory Barlog Halo. Right, which is what with God of War, like it's like he came in and did something. I mean, I never would have thought of it. Right, he came in and did that, and I think Halo. I'm not saying don't make it a shooter, of course, but I think being so reverent to the brand, I think has really harmed Halo, because the hardcore fans, sure, but they haven't gained a lot of new ones. I don't think it's not like the kids today are talking about Master Chief like they were back in the 90s. So
the game doesn't evolve enough, unfortunately.
yeah.
It needed to do a lot of evolving to modernize it to common, not common, but more modern gamers a little while ago. If you kind of look at like what Call of Duty was in Modern Warfare 2 compared to what Call of Duty is now, 2/3 of the Call of Duty community is playing Warzone, which is a battle royale. They're not even playing the traditional multiplayer, which is what us old farts play.
Yeah.
They're constantly trying new things. They tried this thing called Call of Duty DMZ, which was like an extraction shooter mode. It didn't work out. They dropped it. You know, they're always trying something new that they see that like is a more common and more modern idea that everyone is finding popular. And unfortunately, with the Halo community, they're busy complaining about having sprint in the game. And it's just like, what are we doing here, yo? Like, yeah, sprint needs to be in the game. It's 2024, 2025 when that argument was out there. It's just like, you got to do better. You got to like allow the game to grow. And if you're so like caught up in what Halo used to be, then yeah, you know, there is Master Chief Collection for you. But unfortunately, like the franchise needs to move on. The IP needs newer gamers because you old guys just simply aren't enough.
Yeah, the crazy.
I agree with you, Slow-Mo, with the exception of you calling extraction shooter popular.
Man.
Hey, look, they tried it, and you see it didn't work out. So it really wasn't that popular, but they tried it, right? You know, they bring back zombies and they do all kinds of stuff. That's what I meant was they're not afraid to try something, and if it fails, oh well, it failed. We still will just go back to the tried and true stuff. And Halo 343 has had a really difficult time. Well, now I would say Halo Studios has had a very difficult time trying to gain their identity and differentiate themselves from Bungie. And at some point, you need to just say, look, it's your franchise now. Screw Bungie. They ain't made a Halo game in over a decade. It's about you. Make your Halo game. If they don't like it, they don't like it. You move on. But it's just
what the crazy thing to that is? Bungie made it's like they haven't made one in over a decade, but I will probably argue the fact that, in my opinion, Halo Reach is by far the best Halo game that ever has been made, because it has nothing to do with Master Chief and the overall experience and like emotional roller coaster you go on in that game is crazy. For a Halo game, I've never been on the best campaign. It's by far the best campaign of all the Halo games.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
your really hero shooters aren't as popular as you think they are either, Slow-Mo. But I ain't gonna argue with you tonight.
Hey. Marvel Rivals is holding on pretty strong right now,
man.
That's
a great fucking game. It's really great. I love it. I don't love it as much as Call of Duty, but I love it. All right, fellas, I got to run. I got to eat and get some gaming. But thank you for having me. It was fun chatting with you guys. I hope I didn't disrupt your flow too much. And
no, not at all, Jaffy.
So, all right. Well, I see some of you pricks in the chat. I didn't call you out. I have discipline tonight. I see some. I'm not even going to say his name because I know he's a troll. But I'm just like, my God, man, you contrarian fuck. Go get your own fucking podcast and shout to the world if you're so brilliant about every fucking goddamn topic. Oh my fucking God, these kids today. Am I right, boys? Anyway. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Jaffy. Jaffy's been a pleasure. We got to get you back on again.
Take care, bro.
I'm around. I'm easy to find. See you guys.
Yes, all right, see you, Jaffy.
Take care.
Thank you, Jaffy.
Take care. All right, that's David Jaffy. And actually, on that note, I was going to get ready to wrap up the show anyway because BRAP's got to get to bed. I get up early tomorrow.
You got to get his rest in before that 8:00 meeting.
8:00 meeting on a Saturday.
8 p.m.
You know what? Let's talk. Before you wrap up the show,
Let's
sir,
not talk. Let's not
talk real
talk.
quick.
He got to
No,
get his
let's-
rest
I-
before that
let's
8
talk.
o'clock
No,
meeting he got tomorrow.
Oh my god!
Wait, slow-mo. I'm going to put this out there right now, slow-mo.
Mm-hmm.
Upset of the year.
Come on, man. The more people say it,
Upset
the more it's
of-
unlikely to happen,
I'm
man.
calling right now. Upset of the year.
Oh man, that defense gotta
Commanders.
Oh man.
Commanders.
It's not
27?
an upset if everyone keeps calling it an upset. Everyone's saying it's going to be an upset. I'm just like, it's not an upset. It's just everyone just thinks we're
Everybody
going to
thinks
win.
Saturday is going to be upset Saturday because everybody's picking the Texans and people are picking the picking the Washington Commanders.
The only upset I really think is going to happen is I think the Rams will beat the Eagles.
I do think
I
the Rams.
don't think that's going to happen.
I think Stafford about to rip him a new one. I think that defense is a little overconfident. I think Jalen Hurts is mad overrated, and I think it's going to be a wrap for them, and they're gonna go home disappointed. Now, Jaden Daniels is fantastic, and the one thing I will say for certain, the Lions better jump on the Commanders
fast
and fast. Go up by 21-0 as quickly as you possibly can. Try to score as many, and if you can get your defense can get some stops. I know their defense is kind of trash, and I know they ain't really good.
No.
The
It's not that they trash. They injured.
Hey, look, who they playing is trash, and that's what I'm saying. So let's just move it
on.
I don't look if the guy you talking about is injured, is on injured reserve, he's irrelevant. So that's not the point.
If our defense
what I'm
is
saying,
trash and we're gonna win this game, what does that make that offense?
See, this is what I'm saying about like you're getting in your feelings.
I know. I'm just.
Like, I ain't talking about the offense. Like
not my offense.
The offense don't play defense.
I'm talking about your offense.
So I got some questions.
Our offense is actually pretty daggone great. Third to fifth best offense in the league. The quarterback is in the MVP voting. Yours isn't. I think our offense is just fine.
Even though mine's had a better year, and they have.
Well, he's got better weapons,
and they had the number one offense for the whole year.
So I got a couple questions.
He's got better weapons. He should have the better offense.
He does, and they're going to show.
But the offense don't play defense, and so back to what I was saying.
The offense does play defense, but they score 40 points a game.
That's not defense. Defense is actually stopping other people from scoring.
They did against Minnesota last game of the season.
You ain't playing Minnesota.
We playing. You're right. We playing.
So you're not playing. Minnesota has been eliminated for being fraud.
We're gonna have a night. Listen, I'm gonna be. You gonna see me on X the most tomorrow.
Forte, do the Lions play in the dome?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they do not do very well with running quarterbacks. Jaden can run. It doesn't mean that that's all he does, because clearly he is a passer first. What I was trying to say before Forte being a fanboy and funny because he's a fair weather fan at that, interrupted me was that
this is my main team right here. This is the main team right here.
Yeah, fair. So I don't know why you defending the Lions. You're not a real fan, but the purpose is
we're doing good.
What I was saying is that if it's close, it's a problem.
Still here.
If it's in the fourth quarter and we are and it's within one touchdown and we get the ball, it's a wrap.
What, y'all gonna tie the game?
We're gonna win the game.
Look. If
it's close, we were winning the game.
Forte, if you don't close in the fourth quarter.
They close every fourth quarter.
No, if it's tight, the fourth quarter, and you don't close, you guys are in trouble. And I'm telling you right now.
Okay. You guys are in trouble.
I'm telling you right now, Forte, 27-24.
Number 6 game-winning drive by Jaden Daniels this year.
Look, right. I believe in NFL history, right? There's never been a QB to go to the Super Bowl, right? To win, right?
A rookie.
I'm sorry, rookie QB. Thank you. There's always a first. Always.
There's only one.
Always a first.
There's only one team in this whole entire playoffs I'm scared of. One.
Who's that?
The Rams.
I don't know why.
You're not afraid of the Chiefs?
No, we beat last time we played the Chiefs. We beat them.
Oh man! All right, we got
the only.
right, look.
I'm serious. The only team in the whole playoffs I'm scared of is the Rams because Matthew Stafford, if he comes back to Detroit with a chance to go to a Super Bowl, that man gonna play outside his mind.
Maybe.
He gonna play outside. Because I do agree, they're gonna beat the Eagles. And then that means they'll be playing if the Lions beat, because I'm 100% fair. If they beat the Washington Commanders, that means Stafford is coming home to Detroit.
Who's coming home?
Stafford will be coming home to Detroit.
No. It sounded like you said Safford.
No, Stafford. And that scares me. Because every time we play Stafford in Detroit, we damn near lost the game. Last year in the playoffs, came down to the end of the game in the second round. And the first game of the season, Stafford dang near beat us. So
I think you're thinking ahead of yourself here, Forte.
I ain't worried about you.
Going to the fourth quarter. That's Jaden's quarter.
You know
that
what
is Jaden's quarter.
You hear this? Didn't Slow-Mo come in here saying, "Oh, people up here if people keep picking the Commanders, that means they're going, they probably won't win." But you hear them talking like the Commanders gonna win, right?
I did not say that. All I said was, I said multiple times, I think the Lions will win. But
so what's gonna happen, Slow-Mo? If you had to put the money, you had to put pen to paper, who's gonna win tomorrow?
I just said the Lions. Are you deaf?
Okay. No, I'm just making sure you ain't just saying
the
Lions just to say that. So Brap, are you picking the Commanders? You picking the Commanders?
Am I picking it? Yes, of course I'm picking the Commanders.
If it's close, the Lions
ain't got nothing about being close.
Double digits.
Nothing
but if it's close,
look, of course,
if it's close, Jaden Daniels about to add another one to his legend.
There's a lot of close games that happen in football, and I just said the Lions are going to win this game no matter what, and you're saying only if it's close.
Yeah, because I'm not being just a brain dead fan, and I actually have you are being kind of brain dead with it. I'm just saying
there's some hostility here.
We only lost one game. What was it again? One game?
Your other team. Your other team.
They suck.
Only lost one game too, and it ended up being the most important game. So what?
No, but you know what?
This is why.
Wait, hold on. The one game they did lost. I had a feeling it was going to happen because guess what? They played the New York Giants week 17 that year, and that game was like 41-38, and I was like, oh my God, if we run into this game and this team again in the Super Bowl, it might be different. And guess what happened? We ran into that team in the Super Bowl.
All right, look. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show because Brap's got to go to bed. But
get ready for the 8 o'clock meeting he got tomorrow. It's going to be waiting for you.
You see, you know what, Slow-Mo?
Talking all this trash about a team that he don't even really root for.
Yeah,
I don't listen to Fairweather fans.
It's on the wall. It's on the wall. It's on the wall.
He's only rooting for them because New England's not in the playoffs.
I know.
Oh no, I still
fans do that.
No.
They don't ride or die for their team when they're down. They just go to their other team.
No. Once again.
No, you're a Fairweather fan, bro.
Right here, my team that I will never turn my back on. This one right here, never, ever.
So why are you talking about this other team?
Oh, because I live here.
What's that have to do with anything?
Because I was a Lions fan. Where's the fan before I was a Patriots fan?
Where's the Patriots thing in the background for you?
Oh, I could put it up there for you if you want me to. I have it.
All right.
I have it.
I'm just checking.
This is Fairweather. This is fake fan Fairweather talk.
All right, look, we got to wrap up the show. I want to give
we got it.
Got to give a big shout out to David Jaffy joined us, and shout out to Slow-Mo and Forte and Game Logic. Gentlemen, I'll go with you, Logic. If you want to be found, let everyone they can find you.
We got the Black M back there too.
So. It's all good. Superman and Lois is a good show.
No. Before you leave, Logic was trying to say something for like 20 minutes. We kept over speaking him or over talking him. Can you please ask what you wanted to ask, sir, before we get out of here?
I partially asked it when I asked you if Detroit played in the dome.
Yeah.
The larger question was I was going to ask you guys how much do you think, looking at who has home field advantage this weekend, are there any games where weather you think plays into it?
Ooh, who plays outside?
Don't think
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia plays outside, but
playing a warm weather team.
They also play in the dome. The Rams playing it. It is supposed to be, that might be screwed because it's supposed to be like negative windshield in Philadelphia over the weekend.
Yeah, Philly's. We're supposed to get snow here.
Yeah, we're supposed to get snow too.
Yeah.
And this is why we need to do a sports podcast. Let Game Logic James
but
Brown.
that said,
y'all be on the
Jalen
panel.
Hurts is an overrated quarterback, and Jalen Hurts probably won't be able to throw in the snow either. So,
but they can run the ball.
You sure can. Saquon might
run the ball.
They can run the ball though.
Might make history.
All right. Forte, let me know where they can find you.
Yeah, man, great to be here. And I know you were just playing around about saying you're only here because David Jaffy here. No, I just happened. It's the first time I like. No, he said you're only here.
Logic.
Like
You notice it,
like
Logic. You know how he just happened to pop in here.
Well, no, actually, what happened was I came downstairs because I forgot you went live on Friday. And I came downstairs. I was going to jump on. No, because I've been working.
That's where we rank in his hierarchy of needs.
And then he got that Jaffy alert. And he was where's Jaffy? Jaffy's on BRAP. I guess I'll show up.
As soon as I put the tweet out, Jaffy was a guest. Forte showed up.
No, I was going to play Call of Duty. I jumped because I have my.
He's a fair weather football fan, a fair weather podcaster. I love it. 2
monitors here. And I always listen to like something while I'm playing Call of Duty. So I was like looking on YouTube, and I went to YouTube and I was like, let me see who's doing something. And then I saw that you guys were live, and I was like, oh shoot, I forgot he's live on Friday. Let me jump in there.
He over-explained him.
How do you forget I'm live when I tweeted earlier this afternoon?
Sir, how often do you see me on Twitter?
You don't get alerts?
It doesn't. I don't got push notifications on.
Yeah, remember I've often commented about how Forte leaves me on read on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't have I only time I really look at X.
The funny thing is leaving someone on read means he actually read it though.
That's
yes, that's exactly what it means. You also leave me on read on iMessage, and I see read. And then you don't reply. And
that hasn't been like that in a while. I've been responding to you lately. But like you were saying, Gaming Forte, YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live, PlayStation, DPS podcast, Thursday nights with the homie, the man that's trying to slander me right now, Slow-mo backslapping. He does a great job of doing it, and I appreciate him. Also, check me out on IOP on Sunday for the next couple of months, subbing in for Solve. Going live with them at 1:00 on Sunday. It's going to be a great time with them over there doing that. And it's great to be back here on BRAP with the homies. And BRAP looks real, dog. You looking really healthy right now, bro. Shout out to you. You look good, bro. You cut your hair?
What does that mean?
You cut your hair.
Let me cut my hair.
Your facial hair or something. You look good.
He means that last time he saw you, you look like you was dying. But you look like you made it through.
What do you think I was like dying or something? What are you talking about?
No, I just like you. I like you know, less facial hair. You looking good, man. Looking healthy.
Less facial hair. This is.
I haven't seen your face.
My facial hair is always this length.
Maybe the fact that I just haven't seen you in a while. That's what it is.
Oh my god, just keep this going. It's so uncomfortable.
I gotta get more developers on the show.
What?
And
I'll be here next. No. You know what, BRAP? I'll be here next week, bro.
Oh, okay. It's
just to prove a point.
Somo.
No, I'll be here next week.
Somo, do you believe him?
Yeah, I'll be here next week. Yeah, I'll be here next week.
I think he will forget.
Matter of fact, when's the last time you was here, Slow-mo?
Like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, about at least 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I've been here a few times since he moved to Friday.
Yeah, Somo's actually been here a few times.
Oh, okay.
You would know that if you actually showed up.
I'm here today, and I'll be here next week.
You notice how he doesn't show up here, but now he's like, oh, I'm gonna stand in IOP every Sundays for the next couple of months.
Interesting.
He doesn't say like no comment. That's how oh my god.
Listen,
we missed you, Forte.
I missed you too.
All right, go ahead, Slomo. Outro. Sir.
You need to call your defense lawyer. Tell him to come in and start.
No,
I'm speaking for my client Forte going forward. He has no more comments. He has nothing to say here. I will be answering all questions for him.
I have no defense. I will be here. And if it's like it was today, I got off work at 9:30. I came home. I logged in and I saw y'all, and I came in at 10 o'clock.
Well, anyway, look, I'm Slow-Mo Backslap. I'm the other half of DPS. We may do something live this weekend. I gotta figure out which game I will play if we do so. Otherwise, see us next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Damage Per Second podcast channel, which we are going to do some changes soon. I would say probably by the end of the month or the beginning of February. So just look out for that. We're going to do some good things planned and going forward. So please check us out, check the channel out, subscribe to it if you can. We'll love that. And hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night.
I heard one of those changes was you guys onboarding a new cast member? Regularly recurring?
But we do have an open door for a select few people, and then one of those people is Game Logic. Whenever he wants to come through,
I don't know who Game Logic is. I only know Hamp.
There you go, Forte.
Hamp. Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching the show. Again, big thank you to Jaffy, our guest this evening. And please do me a favor, hit that like, but do the YouTube stuff, like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll catch you next Saturday at 9 p.m. I said Saturday. Next Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern time.
It's okay.
Everyone have a great weekend, and go Commanders. We'll catch you next time.
Go Commanders.
Jayden Daniels.
JD